Seeing the video of Trump saying that, listen, JB was one who brought up the Jews. We should be worried of assassination on Trump now. We've had a few presidents go against the Israelis, and we've seen what happens to them. So it's a very interesting thing. He seems very annoyed with the whole situation, being like, hey, we've done the military strikes that was needed to be done. Israel doesn't want to be finished. Israel wants war. He's like, and he's emotional about it. I get it. He wants peace. So, America first.
I was joking about the Jewish part. I was joking. I know Andy sent myself to grab onto that. But Gary.
Yeah, cheers. I'm curious. So, what is it going to take for you to be, I don't know, to be able to backstep and say, you know what, I was wrong?
About?
What do you mean wrong about what? The AI?
Yeah.
Well, how about you allow for me to be contentious as everybody else is on this app, and just allow for me to, stir the pot like I like to do on this app. Hold my foot to the fire for every fucking little thing to make me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bug doing a backpedal after he has Googled news and Trump. Thank you.
I mean, I got my own style. I don't follow everybody else's norm on this app. That's why I'm Bug Bully.
That's a fact.
You know what?
That's a fact.
This is a good day so far. I like it.
Let me say good morning to Aziz and then Bag. I think that this is going to give Bag. Hold on, I'm going to go to Aziz first. I'm going to come to you right after, I promise. I think this gives hope to the Iranian people for regime change. Aziz, good morning.
Morning, JB. Morning, everyone. Yeah, I was just watching the press conference, or whatever you want to call it, the interview with Trump before he got on the helicopter, and I think he's kind of I think the overarching theme is that obviously he's just come into power in his first year, and I think he hasn't managed to find his feet yet. You kind of get the impression that, especially with the language he's used, that he's being pulled in different directions that he doesn't want to go in. He mentioned specifically the news organizations. I think what he means by that is he's saying, well, we've supported Israel. It sounds like he's saying he supported them reluctantly, and despite that, he's being made fun of. And Trump with his ego and what he, knowing his character, that's his main priority. Don't make me look like the fool. And so when you see the language he's used at the end, he said, both of these countries don't know what the fuck they're doing, but you can hear that he was very critical of Israel. I think that's him alluding to Netanyahu, pulling him in directions he doesn't want to go in. I think we know his relationship with Netanyahu, and I think he's kind of implying, listen, I was happy to help reluctantly, but if this affects my tenure, the remaining 4 years, no, this isn't what I plan to do here. So you're not going to pull me and drag me around. And I think the same goes with Iran. I think he was almost excusing Iran if you listen to it carefully, which is a bit strange. Maybe that's just him being clever, and because he's said certain things about Iran, then struck them the next day. So I'm very careful about what he says about Iran. I don't really believe him half the time. But when it comes to Israel, the posturing is unusual and quite negative. So that's my perception of what I've seen.
I kind of agree with that, because it also gives kind of a perception to believe that, Israel fooled an American president. And that could be also what Trump would be like. Whatever they talked about as far as the peace or the ceasefire was concerned, and now it looks as if, Trump was played, right? They used the American standard to, intervene and, call a ceasefire, but now he's pissed off, and I kind of agree with you, man. There's a negative connotation that comes along with what he's been saying, at least as far as towards Israel, because you probably feel like he got played.
Well, I think we don't know if he got played or not, but I think that he's pissed off because now his face will go on Mount Rushmore anymore. Good morning, Bag.
He played himself. All
right, water. Hold on, we're not doing conspiracy.
Relax. Don't get emotional.
JB.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Here's emotional asshole. Go sit in the audience. Good morning, Bag.
Good morning, bro. I just want to say you got a cool ass chain. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wanted to ask you what kind of time that is.
What kind of link is it?
Yeah, if you don't mind DM.
I'll just tell you, it's the Tiger Eye.
You said it's a side guard
Tiger Eye.
of the chain design.
Yeah, it's called Tiger Eye.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the compliment.
Do you want to know what aftershave he's wearing as well? Just that. Probably Greek.
I want to go back to Aziz because I 1000% agree with what you said. I feel like Israel going and firing off the missiles. He knows that he's in the middle of trying to negotiate a ceasefire, and then he does that, and then you don't expect these people to fight back. It's crazy to me, and it's putting Trump in a situation, and he doesn't like it, and I don't like it for him. A lot of Americans don't like it for him. Bibi needs to chill for real. Somebody needs to really talk to him, and and that's the other part about it, because I feel like Bibi is like, listen, I'm at the brink of being able to make the changes that I need to make, but is that the right way that he's going about doing it? That's the real question. Is he really going the right way, or is there a right way? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the question sort of we need to be able to look at is an entire country, right? Because we're not talking about just Netanyahu. We're talking about a country with a government, with a series of cabinets that have basically been in the firing line from multiple dimensions, including not just Iran, but Iran's proxies. Do they need to kowtow to what Trump wants them to be able to do? And if so, why? They are a sovereign country. They have obviously received some assistance, from America in the form of Trump, in the form of dropping a series of bombs on nuclear targets, and that's what they've done. Tell me, should Israel be at the behest of Trump?
I think.
Is that a question? I'm sorry.
I think.
Absolutely, it's a question.
Well, I think Israel should. I'm sorry, MJ. I'll say good morning to you in a second. I think absolutely. I think Trump has just by him engaging in destroying the nuclear facilities. I think Israel should. And it's not anti-Israel. People so don't go over and say JB said he's anti-Israel. I think Israel needs to stand down right now. I mean, the objective of this whole campaign was to destroy the nuclear facilities. Now they can't say that we've done it and then continue the engagement. Good morning, MJ.
Good morning. Yeah, I think the real regime real nation that's in need of regime change is Israel. I think Benjamin Netanyahu and his right-wing Israelis, since their assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin 30 years ago this year, they have really kidnapped the Israeli government. They're not on any track for peace. This is the group that's in need to be supported for real regime change in Israel. There needs to be, instead of ridiculing people, real Israelis that wanted peace, right, through the Oslo Accords themselves, they've made it a reprehensible slur, referring to them as the Oslo people. I think, there just needs to be a reckoning with democracy in Israel, a removal of the fascist, non-democratic tactics and tendencies of Bibi Netanyahu and the radical Israeli right, and real change for Israel that's actually represented in views that are expressed by Israelis on the ground.
Is that how they win regime time?
I don't think.
Oh, hang on for a second. No, wait a second. We're not going to do this. Okay, Marty, I get that you've got an alternate position on this, and I also have an alternate position on this, okay? When people come up on the stage, it's not the indication that, anybody just gets off the mic and talk. We've got a one mic policy here, and it's for everybody concerned, okay? If you'd like to be able to respond, that's great. And put up your hand like everybody else, Marty, and it's really good to see you. Thanks, MJ. If you could land your plane pretty quick, it seems like you're going around in circles at the moment. It seems like you want to be able to say, take the focus off Iran as being a regime, an oppressive regime. Instead, you want to be able to focus on Israel being, I don't know, the demon.
An oppressive regime. An oppressive regime.
Well, interesting.
An oppressive.
Wait, let him land. Then I have a question for you, MJ. Please lead.
Yeah. An oppressive apartheid regime. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Israel is an oppressive apartheid regime under Benjamin Netanyahu, and there needs to be real regime change. I think there's more likely to be more change in Israel, right, given a change away from the radical right than regime change in Iran. I don't think regime change in Iran, at least democratic regime change in Iran, will ultimately result in something as different as it would be if there was regime change in Israel.
Got it. Okay, we got the message. You were literally going around in circles. Okay, can I ask what country you're in?
I'm in the United States of America.
Okay. Are you a patriotic person?
No, I'm Afrocentric.
Okay.
Ew.
Okay. Whatever that means, I don't know. Marty, welcome to the stage.
Wait, before we go to Marty, I have one question for MJ.
Yeah, go for it.
MJ, first of all, good morning. So let me ask you, I've heard this narrative a million times that Netanyahu is continuing these conflicts, whether it's Gaza, now Iran, just to stay in power because he has all these legal issues outside of his office. Are you one of those people that believe that?
Well, yeah, I think that perpetuating war is always a way in which you can galvanize people, sway politics in your favor. That's nothing new to European, Western history, right? So, yeah, I think that's a part of his plan.
But wasn't he I'm sorry, I'll give it to you right now. But wasn't he democratically elected?
Sure.
Well, some of the people put him in. Go ahead,
Okay. MJ, I'm curious, have you ever been to Israel?
No, I would never.
No, you would never. Okay, interesting. You understand that we have a democracy in place, or a type of democracy in Israel?
Sure.
Yeah. Are you aware that out of any other state or country in the entire region, Israel has better human rights than any other entity in the region?
According to who? Human rights according to what? I don't agree. I don't think any other nation in the region is doing what Israel is doing internationally to children and women.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Look, you obviously.
I don't know what basis you have to say.
Hang on for a second. That's great. We'll have the conversation. That's perfectly fine. You are either incredibly misinformed, incredibly biased, or incredibly stupid, or a combination of maybe.
Which other nation is killing more women and children than Israel?
Let me see. The Congo. That
no, in the region, sir. In the region.
Hang on.
Region,
wait a
sir.
second, dude. Hang on.
Don't go out of the region.
I'll tell you
You have to go all the way to Congo.
Okay. Hang on. If you go off mute again, you're going to go down to the audience. It's not because of your opinion. This is we want to have a conversation, dialogue. It's pretty fucking simple. Okay. You ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. Let's say. The Assad regime, 600,000 people were butchered and slaughtered to death.
800,000.
800,000. There's 860,000 people who have been murdered in the Congo. 500,000 people in Yemen. Literally, it's the worst devastation in Yemen right now. You want to be able to demonize
That was the
Israel.
2018 reading. It's now 750,000 people in Yemen.
There you go. But Marty, thanks so much for your patience. I ask that you take a deep breath and have a measured conversation with MJ if you'd like to. Marty?
Good morning, guys. He was just repeating himself, so I felt like we heard what he had to say. It wasn't anything actually truthful because he lives in a country where he doesn't want to do change, because in reality he's talking about a different country which electedly voted for the person who's in power and these are what it is a democracy. But he wants to talk about places that we'll never visit because one, they will never be allowed in. These are the types of things that people have opinions. Good for you. Your opinions worth the same dollar value that someone's actually offering it to you, and as we all know, it's worth shit because nobody's paying you for it. And these are the types of people who just regurgitate these false accusations where the people in Israel voted for their government the same way Americans voted for their government, the same way other countries vote for their government. And it's not this coup d'etat to stay in power because the people themselves will continue to put Bibi into power. Because in reality, Bibi's missions and Bibi's goals isn't like the Trump flip-flopper as we see. He's actually achieving his goals. Iran nuclear, his campaign promise from the 90s to the early 2000s was Iran will not have nukes, as we continuously see Israel continuously sabotage their nuclear facilities for the last 30 years. And then they said, I'm going to make Israel safe. And as we continuously see the suicide bombing that we're so used to with the second Intifada, that it has completely stopped, and this is not the way of life of the Israelis. And the third thing was that his campaign promises from the 90s, I'm going to make Israel into a powerhouse where they're going to be advanced in technology, advanced in many different fields, pharmaceuticals. And these are the types of things that Bibi achieved, whereas where he stands, he thinks it's a regime, but regimes are not voted in. Regimes stay in power through force. Nobody died because they were going against Bibi. And these are the types of people, if you really think that you're going to stop the problem, Yitzhak Rabin was killed way before Bibi came to power. Bibi was not elected after Rabin, so again, you're just regurgitating things that one was actually stunned by the government and the country was said assassination of Yitzhak Rabin was wrong, and at the same time it was not a result of Bibi, which you completely flip-flop conversations, completely flip-flop facts, because in reality you don't know the facts. You don't even love the country you live in, so if you really have a fight to fight your own fight in your own country, because in reality your country is going to shit.
Let's land it. Thanks, Marty.
I just want to say Brooklyn love to Marty. Go ahead.
MJ, not so great.
Let me ask Marty a question real quick. So, Marty, what you just said about what Netanyahu wasn't doing, what do you think about Menachem Begin?
What about Menachem Begin? Menachem Begin united the Middle Eastern Jews to what was like more European-centric. They said Mizrahi Jews are part of the nation, and he worked his ass off to make a unity between the two people who came from different backgrounds, different identical political beliefs, and just like cultures, and he combined them. That's what I think of Menachem Begin.
So can you tell me why he was released from the USSR as a war criminal before he created the IDF and began the onslaught against Palestinians?
Menachem Begin was, you said, what? He's the USSR? Who gives a shit? The USSR says they were the communists, they were the dictators who suppressed and threw Jews in gulags. For them to say that somebody else is bad, they go fuck themselves. Nobody really cares because they're old and they don't actually exist anymore.
Interesting.
And the Jews fighting for their, like, the uprising in the Holocaust is not compared to anything considering terrorism, because we only targeted Nazi generals or a British military was occupying our land.
If I could just say one thing as well, MJ was critical of Netanyahu. I don't think a good rebuttal is to mention the Israel as a country, their approach to human rights. I don't think Netanyahu is responsible for, creating those laws and legislation. Netanyahu has a different role in the government. I don't think that's a good rebuttal. They're completely separate. Israel's morals and ethics and human rights policy kind of remains regardless of who's in power. Being critical of Netanyahu is not being critical of the Israeli people or the country itself. It's just, these are kind of easy. It's a cheap tactic to simply bring in other elements when you're simply just criticizing Netanyahu, and that's just what it is. And to name the unstable regional states that surround Israel, I mean, they're not exactly the pillars of hope, right? So I don't think they're good examples as reference points to say, well, look what happens in Syria. So I think, Israel is a nation that is considered a democracy, and it should be acting accordingly. So I believe Netanyahu has things that he needs to account for.
Thank you.
And that has nothing to do.
Thank you, Aziz. Let me do a quick room reset before we go to the next speaker. Guys, this is Healthy Debate. Trump says Israel and Iran don't know what the fuck they're doing. So it looks like the great peace that he promised, and he said he delivered, was just really another false flag. I have a question for the room. Guys, if you want to come up on stage, by all means, please come up. If you have a pink ticket, cash it in. The question I have for the room is, guys, let me finish my reset, please. Nikhil, mute up. I don't understand when people hear me talking, they think it's okay just to jump the fuck in when I'm doing reset. It's so frustrating. Anyway, good morning, Kenyatta. Good morning, Dee. Good morning, Debbie. Miss Clark, you're welcome to the stage. Even though I don't agree with what you wrote. V-Berg, Opie, good to see you. Like I said, if you have a pink ticket, cash it in, guys. Today's special raffle prize is all-expense dinner with Rohan. So we're going to go to the next speaker, which is my man, Randy. Randy, good morning.
Hi, JB. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I had to speak up after the last speaker. Netanyahu is for some reason, people have decided to demonize Netanyahu, and I'm going to explain why. Because he is a strong, persuasive speaker who has as smart as anybody else in the room and very good communicator. And a long time ago, certain people decided that they had a vision of how the whole Middle East is going to be resolved. And they see Netanyahu as the man standing in their way. So they've decided to take him down. And I'll go real specific. If all you knew about Netanyahu was what you read in the New York Times, which is basically an organ of the Democratic Party, if that's all you knew about Netanyahu, you would think he's a chump and a jerk and corrupt too. But instead, we've seen a guy who's been consistently elected. There are no term limits over there. So he's been elected. He's been prime minister for a long time. But he is elected. And he has vanquished his enemies. And he said a long time ago, he said a doctrine. It's a doctrine that goes all the way back to Menachem Begin, which is Israel's Arab neighbors. Israel's neighbors cannot have a nuclear weapons program because Israel is outnumbered by about 1,000 to 1 land mass and population-wise. If they don't have a deterrent, then they're fucked. So that's a doctrine that they've held in place. They bombed a nuclear reactor in Syria. They bombed a nuclear reactor in Iraq. And for 20 years, he has dedicated himself very clearly to the statement that Iran will not have a nuclear weapons. Now, there were many people who stood in his way. Obama called him chicken shit, if you can remember that in the Atlantic magazine. Said Bibi's chicken shit. He didn't have the right weapons, he didn't have the right technology, but he worked on the project for 20 years. And we have to give him credit for what he's done. So yeah, I think he's one of the great statesmen. I'm sorry, I know I've said a lot. I'm here, and I'm here for the whole conversation.
Thank you, Randy. So the question I have for the room is this. Thank you, Randy. I need you to mute up as I get feedback. Thank you. So the question I have for the room is, does this instill hope again for a regime change in Iran? I have to tell you, man, I can only imagine what's going on with our Persian friends, our Iranian friends, right? Our Kurdish friends. This roller coaster ride of the last 2 weeks has to be so stressful for them. But I saw Keegan had his hand raised, and I'm going to go to Deo. Good morning, Keegan.
Yeah, this is what I think. And I think that whether or not Israel wants to do a regime change in Iran, that's fine. But I think that Trump is a narcissist. He has a large ego. And when you hurt that ego, he's willing to cut ties. And I think that he is very upset with Israel and Iran, of course, but with Israel because they're the allies here. That when he writes up a peace treaty of a ceasefire, and he feels like Israel's broken it, whether or not they were the first ones to break it, he believes they were, or at least he believes that they have some type of causation for this. So I think that I think the United States, we might cut off Israel and I think that's a good thing. Cutting off the branch that's dying. So.
There's zero chance Donald Trump cuts off Israel. Well, let me say good morning to Dale. Good morning, Dale.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. The thing about the Benjamin Netanyahu thing is that I can understand how some people may have a strong support for him, particularly given the fact that he's the longest serving prime minister, and obviously there's clearly support for him because he keeps getting voted to be reelected and stuff like that. One thing I do think that is a fair thing is to critique him. Like, at the end of the day, he is a statesman, and you are allowed to critique a statesman the same way we're allowed to critique Trump. I can critique Trump right now, and doesn't mean I'm like anti-American or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So critiquing the statesman is not necessarily an indication of how you feel about that specific country. And then, in particular to that, this statesman that we're critiquing has an arrest warrant for genocide with the ICC. So I think that part is just completely just put under the rug as if like it just never happened. That the arrest warrant for him is an important indication of as to like how someone and other people are right to feel about him in regards to some of the criminality and genocide.
Yeah, I'd like to respond because unprecedented.
Wait, Randy.
And they defend themselves.
Randy, I know you hear me. You have no mic control. I want to let the man finish and land his plane, and then I would have given you the opportunity to push back. So some respect to the other speakers. Okay, Dale. Okay, so moving on from Netanyahu, what I really wanted to come here and talk about was what we're seeing now going on right now currently in regards to like U.S., Israel, and Iran and this ceasefire situation. I'm curious to try to. I think we kind of like talked about it a little bit, but I'm curious to see what the room's thoughts and temperature is between Bibi's relationship and Trump's relationship. I think that like we started to talk about how it seems like they're on like eggshells right now. And for me, I know the media is gonna like point it and say like, Trump told Iran and Israel to like what the fuck are y'all doing? But if you actually listen to the full recording of what Trump was saying and everything like that, he was more aghast with Israel than anything else. He seemed to be more critical of Israel than Iran. And I think that deserves a conversation, because if you're going to say that we are... Land your plane, sir.
Well, I'm about to land it. So if you're about to say that we being critical of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu is an indication of anything else, we just heard Trump being super critical for the first time.
You said that 5 times. We get it. Trump criticized Netanyahu. Criticized Israel.
So,
we get it.
So what do we think about Trump's criticization of Israel?
I'm going to hand it to Rohan and then get Randy back in the conversation. Rohan, you want to...
Yeah, cool. Look, I think that's a fair assessment. Based on what I saw as well, I could see that he was more pissed off with Israel than Iran. I think that's a fair call, 100%. And like it got me thinking as well as to why that would be the case. And look, maybe there is some friction between Trump and Netanyahu. That is a possibility. There have been times in the past where they haven't seen eye to eye. But at the same time, I think that, look, you've got two egos there. There's a possibility that the two egos, could potentially be butting heads with each other. They might have conflicting ideas of what the outcome should be. And that'll
boring.
I moved him. Go ahead.
Can I go, Bibi?
No, just hang on for a second. I haven't finished. The other thing to take into consideration is that it wasn't too long ago we saw that there was a ruse, I guess. There was a situation where, I can't remember exactly what the date or the conversation was about, but there was a perceived disagreement between, and also some heat and some friction between the two people. Yet, when it came to making a joint announcement, they both had adulation for each other. They were both singing each other praise. They both had similar wording in their speeches straight after the bombs were dropped on the nuclear facilities. So is there a potential that this could be part of the playbook to be able to play out Chapter 2, which could possibly involve a regime change? Let's see how it plays out. I don't know.
Thank you, Rohit. So I'm going to go to Randy. I'm going to give you a minute, and I want to go to Dr. Goddess.
I'll be quick. I think what Rohan seems to be suggesting is that it was performative. I don't think so. I think it's a lover's quarrel. It's just one day, guys. Okay? Don't forget, 1 day of Trump time is like 1 month of Biden time. So this is just this morning's news cycle. That's one press conference. Sure, the guy is upset. He's upset today. He thought he had negotiated a ceasefire. He wants to go play golf. He thought he solved another world problem. Turns out he didn't solve the world problem as quickly as he wanted to. So, he's a boss. So he's telling everybody, hey, get this fucking thing done. You guys are buckheads. Go get it done. But I don't think that means anything. I don't think in a month from now people will be talking about it. I think they'll be talking about 20 other things. So, it's today's news, guys, but not tomorrow. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Well, I think...
Now get the fuck out of here. I love you. All you guys, I love you. I fucking love you, okay?
Thank you. Hit my Cash App. Dr. Goddess, good morning. Dr. Goddess?
Good morning.
I have to tell you something. I didn't get a chance to tell you the last time we spoke because it's been a little while. You're one of my favorite speakers on this entire app. I just wanted to say that. So, Dr. Goddess, what do you think about what's going on with Trump saying Israel and Iran don't know what the fuck they're doing? What do you think?
Well, to the title, I haven't caught up on what Trump has said this morning, but I don't think that Trump knows what he's doing either. I think that Netanyahu has clearly been taking advantage of the United States as well as the conflict in the Middle East. And I have deep disregard for Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, and that total hardcore right leadership in Israel. And I do think that Trump, I think that Trump thinks that business deals are governance. And I do acknowledge that that there are some agreements that can be made, like business. You could say you've got this much oil and you have, these many resources, and we shouldn't be fighting. We should be in cooperation with one another. I totally understand that. But I think the other aspect of it is like Donald Trump, the world is not the art of the deal. And you have not mastered the art of the deal, even in your own business operations. And so as you are directing government, sometimes you get it right because business is business, but you're looking really foolish right now. So those are my initial thoughts on this whole debacle. And I do think that Iran is definitely going to strike back. This is not something that is easily resolved. So for Donald Trump to think like, oh, okay, we did that. Now Israel and Iran, you guys go ahead and get along. And, Putin, I told you you should stop that. And I embarrassed Zelensky when he came to the White House, so everything should be fine. It's like a third grade level negotiations and geopolitics. It's sort of annoying on a lot of different levels. But so anyway, those are my thoughts for today.
Thank you, Dr. Goddess. Appreciate you. So before I go to the next speaker, I just want to shout out one more time, First Lady. Everyone's politically correct, guys. If you want a good space to have a good political conversation, follow this young lady. You definitely enjoy her space. But let me go to, I enjoy it. Let me go to Tony, Scotty, then Yehuda. Tony, get.
Do I feel like, no, they don't know what the fuck they're doing in line. That's what they're doing. Trump think, like I said yesterday, Trump's ideology, mindset, my opinion, not saying it's a fact, He thought like, okay, it's up in nukes. All right, cool. Let's destroy the nukes. All right, Israel, everything's good now. They don't have nukes. Leave it alone. But like I said, when you get deep down in these Israel rooms and listen to the really how they talk and stuff like that, it ain't really about. It's more about the nukes. It's about land and everything else that comes with it. Again, it's opinion, not a fact, because it's going by what I hear and not by what about news and shit like that.
Why do you think it's about land, Tony?
Well, it's because they don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of Islamic people they think that's going to destroy them. That's what I'm going by what they said. I ask questions. I don't jump to conclusions. I ask questions like, why do y'all feel that way? They say it's because we're surrounded by people that hate us. So we don't want people around us that's going to destroy us.
No, I'm asking why do you think this whole thing is about land?
I just told you it's not really about land. I just described it in detail. I wasn't talking strictly like this land. I just saying strictly about just about in general, like they don't want people around them they feel like there's something that want to destroy them. So they want to try to flatten those areas so they can feel safe. It's not really just about land, is it? And so it's not just about land. I'm just repeating what other Israelis had to. You feel me? Because I asked the same question.
But I'm curious. Do you know much about? I'm curious. Do you know much about the history of the region at all?
Yes, I do. But can I finish up?
I just want to, no, hang on. I just want to ask you some qualifying questions. Like you, I like to be able to ask questions to be able to qualify with.
Can I finish? Can I finish my before I lose it?
No, I just want to ask you a question. I don't know what.
So I'm going to lose my train of thought though, and you're going to think.
Jesus Christ! God forbid, I don't want you to lose trace of me.
I appreciate you, Randy. So like I lost my train of thought. Like I said, then when it comes to Trump, like I said, he really I'm going to keep telling him one thing by saying we don't want this, we don't want that, and Trump fixed the issue. So it's like I said, it's more about that issue. Now about Trump about to lose his fan base. Nobody in America wants to go to war with Israel. That'll be his fan base. We're not trying to lose our soldiers because they fight. If you talk to any MAGA person, anything like that, they will tell you, we're not fighting Israel's war. I'm not a MAGA. I'm letting you know what his fan base is saying because his whole thing when he came in was no wars. When Israel-Iran goes to war, we eat popcorn and then we watch it, like cool. But as soon like the U.S. try to jump in and stuff like that, we think about family members and stuff like that has no business over there fighting a war over there that's not really pertaining to us. Now, people from Israel and different people in their region will say it does pertain y'all, but go tell a MAGA
Tony, land your plane, Tony.
I'm not telling you right here. Tell a MAGA person that's from Alabama that they don't care.
So, look, I'm curious, Tony. Do you know of any time in not just recent history, but in history that Israel, with America's help, or even including America, have actually threatened militarily or have initiated a military offensive to any other country in the region?
See, I said no there earlier.
Yeah, okay. That's curious. And do you hear the Americans jumping up and down calling for the death of the Yemenis?
No, don't care about nobody.
Okay.
Our U.S.
Okay. Look, I've got no other questions. I think everybody else can make their own assumptions from where I'm getting at this point. Tony, your argument seems to be a little bit weak. But appreciate you coming up.
Tony. Hold on there. Thank you. I'm going to go to Scotty, then Yehuda. Scotty, good morning.
Morning, JB.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Yourself?
I'm fantastic. Do you want to chime in the conversation?
Yeah, I just think it was when you dropped the F-bomb earlier on.
You're a little low, Scotty. Can you speak a little louder, please?
Yeah, when you dropped the F-bomb Trump earlier on about he wasn't too happy with the Israelis. I just think that was the right call that he made. He thought he'd sorted the situation out, and clearly they didn't agree with him.
Is that it? You done?
Yeah, that's me for now.
All right, thank you, Scotty. I'll come back to you. Let me say good morning to Yehuda. Yehuda, good morning, bro.
Good
Good morning, JB. Thanks for having me. Hopefully a train doesn't come and ruin my minute or so I have to discuss. So if you hear a bunch of stuff in the background,
Don't worry about it, brother. Mike is yours, and then I want to welcome Hoosier to the state.
Thanks. Well, I mean, I'm able to speak for a little bit, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So my assessment of it is, obviously, I'm coming at this from, an American and a Jew, and obviously I believe in Israel's right to exist, and Iran doesn't. So go after the head of the snake.
Wait, Yehuda, when you say Iran does, you mean the regime, not the people?
Yeah, of course I mean the regime, not the people. Because the people, I mean that's what Netanyahu said, right? Our war is not against the people of Iran. So yeah, sorry for my slight sloppy, but yes, I mean in terms of like the regime of the Ayatollah and all of that. So of course, going after the head of the snake, like what? I mean, like whether or not it's going to be a regime change through force, or if the people are going to uprise, because as you said, the people, I would hope, wouldn't want, to be continued to. Sorry, here comes the train. But yeah, just give me.
All right, I'll come back to you, Yehuda. Hoosier, good morning, my man.
Good morning,
Okay, got you.
How's it
So,
going?
it's going great, man. Thank you for asking. I had a question for you. You weren't in the room earlier.
Sure.
Does this debacle of a peace deal, does it instill hope into the Persian, Iranian, Kurdish people over in Iran that there'll be a regime change?
Real people that they wanted the regime to be gone, they're very disappointed, but there is a ray of hope that this is just like the B-2 that they were just about to take off, but in 2 hours they hit the ground. Probably they're thinking or hoping that this peace request or peace deal is just for Israelis to regroup and figure out the next stage and step. That is the ray of hope that they have. Nobody's happy about it.
Yeah, I got a question. Who's really the room? What is the basis by which somebody would think that a democratically elected Iranian government would be pro-Israel?
You mean the next government you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about a democratically elected Iranian government. What makes anybody think that that government would be pro-Israel?
Well, I mean, maybe the fact that, From the feedback that I get, 80%, and this is from multiple sources, of the population of Iran, which is approximately about 78 million people. The total population, I think, is around about 90 million or 88 million this time, are in favour of a regime change in themselves. Many Iranians that I've come across, and I've also seen footage of Iranians in Tehran and different places, saluting and thanking Israel for taking this action. So I think there's a very good chance, and also there is a history as well that can be referred back to of Iran and Persia and Israel working hand in hand in the past. So it is a possibility.
It's not about them being pro-Israel. It's about them not being as extremely anti-Israel as they are. Is Saudi Arabia pro-Israel? I wouldn't describe them that way. But at least we can speak to them, and they're not shooting rockets at us every moment and using proxies to try, using Hezbollah and Hamas and, the Houthis and the Islamic Jihad. Like, it's easier to have diplomacy they're still Islamists. They're still, Dhimmi apartheid Sharia law. It still exists in Saudi Arabia, but at least we can have a conversation with them without them, threatening our existence. You see the difference?
No, well, surely you wouldn't want a democratically elected Arabian government. I mean, surely you don't think that would be a pro-Israel or a less anti-Israel.
And I'm going back to the next government of Iran. The mindset that the Iranians have maps beautifully onto the mindset the Americans have and the Israelis have. Put the religion aside. The religion was something that was forced on the people. Their primary religion was on this. And now the current regime, let's assume that it's gone. So people are poor, They're hopeful that they have a better life. And on YouTube, the people that they were born, they're less than 70 or younger than 47-year-old. They luckily have the YouTube to go there to see what they were before this Ayatollah regime. So you put all that together, and then they figure out they couldn't get rid of the regime, but it's an external force that historically they're very close and tied to each other for the events of the past of Babylonian freedom and stuff. These two cultures are very close to each other. Culturally, they're extremely close to each other, and there are 50,000 Iranian Jews that they had to flee after the revolution. And they're speaking Farsi. They've put their print on the Israeli culture, and there's going to be a huge commerce between the two countries. Geographically, they're very close, so there's going to be a lot of tourism back and forth. The mindset I'm talking about, these two cultures map onto each other beautifully. It is not like the Arabic culture and the Persian culture that they're constantly in conflict.
Are the Israeli Jews that are, are the Jews that are within the Iranian government, so the current Iranian Jews, are they pro-Israel?
They are. There's no, you cannot find a single Jew that willingly is part of any Ayatollah's government.
I guess, would I be able to chime in? Can I be anti-Mecca and pro-Muslim? Is that possible? Like, let's say I say like I love Muslims, but why do you guys have to do Hajj to Mecca every year? Why can't you guys do that in Europe? Is that anti-Muslim or is
what define you guys?
I'm saying Muslims in general. Like, I'm saying, let's say, like, somebody says, like, I'm not anti-Muslim, I'm just anti-Mecca. Like, why do you guys have to make Hajj to Mecca? I'm using an analogy because Zion in the Hebrew Bible is Jerusalem, right? That's where it comes from. That's where Zionism comes from, is from Jerusalem. So if you're going to say that, you're anti-Zionist but not anti-Jewish, then you're basically saying the same thing as somebody saying, like, this is core to our religious understanding, is that Jerusalem is our holiest city and has been, for over 1,000 years before Islam was even a thing, right? So that's where we're coming from. Like, of course they're Zionists. Of course they are. Like, what else are they going to be? That's part of our religion.
Are all Jews Zionists?
Like I said, are all Muslims devoted to going to Mecca for Hajj? Like, it's part of our religion.
I'm sorry.
Like,
are all Jewish sects?
Does it equal? I don't know if there's if I would. That's like that's a false equivalency between Zionism and the Hajj. Just putting that out there.
It's not, though. It's actually a perfect analogy, because literally we, in the Bible, we would go 3 times a year, pilgrimages for the holidays of Sukkot, Passover, and Shavuot. Okay, so it's actually a perfect analogy.
Prior to 1948, were you guys allowed to do this under the Ottoman Empire?
No, because we never had a temple for the past 2,000 years, because
so for the past 2,000 years, does your Zion and your pilgrimages to Jerusalem not count?
Well, the point is that it's being occupied.
No, but the point is that you don't have it.
Wait a second. Hang on, wait a second. Mute up for a second, okay? If you want to ask a question, at least have the common decency and courtesy to be able to wait for the reply. Go ahead, please.
So there is an occupation in Jerusalem, and it is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock, right? These, basically these, Muslim monuments were occupying the site of where the Holy Temple used to stand. And as a result, we're sharing our holiest city, Jerusalem, which pre-existed Islam by over 1,000 years. And that's the core of this conflict, okay? The, Hamas, they called it the Al-Aqsa flood. What does that mean? Let's go to Jerusalem and, basically reclaim it for only Muslims, right? What if we went to Mecca, destroyed the Kaaba, left up a wall, and said, here, why don't let's build a synagogue on top of it, and, let's share. That's what Jerusalem is experiencing right now. So that's why we have this conflict. And at the core of the conflict, it is a religious conflict, And anyone who wants to just say it's about land and it's about, secular, it's not.
Thank you,
That's
Yehuda.
part of it.
Thank you. Hamid, good morning. Before I go to the other mods that just came on stage, Hamid, I have a question for you. It's a very simple question. In your opinion only, does Israel have a right to exist?
What do you mean by Israel in this case? Do you mean like
the country Israel?
Country.
Yeah, the country does it have a right to exist.
I think you can call like the country whatever you want. Do you think that Palestinians have a right to exist? Do you think that Gaza has a right to exist?
Why are you deflecting? I asked you a very simple question.
Yeah,
yes or no? You want to deflect. This is what anti-Semites do. That's why I asked you the question. No. Listen to what I'm saying. It's a yes or no question. If you're not going to answer it, then please go to another room. Is Israel the country? We've talked about Palestine ad nauseum. I'm talking about Israel the country. Does it have a right to exist? Yes or no, sir?
No, under Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay, so there has to be strings attached to the government that runs the country.
You should qualify with Jerusalem as its capital. Qualify with Jerusalem as its capital.
The capital doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is that if you want to have a one-state solution, if it's a democratically, do you know why the Jews don't want to, or more specifically the Zionists don't want to have a one-state solution? Because the number of Palestinians would outnumber the Jews. For example, we saw recently.
Okay, hang on. Pause for a second. Hang on. No.
Wait.
Oh, hang on.
Why can't he finish speaking? Why can't he finish speaking?
Hold on a second, guys. Bohan, let me just say this is not a democracy in this room, right? If the mod wants to interject and have a conversation, we're going to let him. Because I got to be honest, I'm just speaking for myself, nobody else. I'm so fucking sick and tired of this deflection. If you're an anti-Semite, stand on your fucking square. Okay, Bohan.
Look, he's down the girl. I'm going to invite him up again. There we go. Look, regardless of
I
who
was
you think
almost
you are.
done.
Yeah, okay, and you'll be done again if you interrupt. Okay, if a mod, whether it's me, whether it's JB or any of the mods, right, choose to be able to ask you to pause your thoughts for a moment, that's the prerogative we have. If you don't like these rules, which apply to absolutely everybody, you think you're something special, you're not, you can leave the room. You have a choice. It's entirely up to you. We're here to have healthy debates. These have been our rules for many years. You're not anybody special. Terribly sorry.
Well, Rohan, let me just interject this real quick. So this might break some people's hearts. I'm a Zionist, Rohan's a Zionist, and if our Zionism triggers you, please use the leave quietly button. But go ahead, Ahmed. Finish your spewing.
No. I'm gonna ask him a question, which is what I was doing. Okay. I mean, for some reason, you think the only solution is a one-state solution. I don't understand. There was, back in 1947 and 48, a ruling by League of Nations and also the United Nations to say we're going to create two different states here because there was friction between the two parties, being the Jews and the Arabs. So it was a choice at that point in time. We're going to create two different states. One was going to be for the Jews and the other one was going to be for the Arabs. That shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't have been a problem. Okay, but the choice that 5 or 6 Arab Muslim countries and states at that point in time made was to be able to commit to a genocidal war and kill all the Jews and create that as one land. So there could have been a two-state solution. There hasn't been. You have a Hamas who have sworn to be able to kill all Jews and destroy Israel. Why would you even bring up the topic of a one-state solution? Because it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and I don't know why you're talking about.
Well, the reason why you didn't interrupt me and you heard what I was saying, I said I'm not opposed to a one-state solution or to a two-state solution. I was just like, I'm okay with both, but what I'm not okay with is an apartheid state. That's what I'm not okay with.
Okay,
I do believe
I'm getting enough. So do you believe that it's why do you believe it's an apartheid state at the moment?
This is literally like, if you don't understand why most people think it's an apartheid state, I don't like you'd have to educate yourself, but I think it's quite obvious. I mean, Israel is the one that allows the gas, the electricity, the water, the food. Like, how is it?
Wait a second. I have to interject here because I'm so serious. Hold on. Dude, I know. Go find a fucking audience. You're so fucking hypersensitive. But when you're going to spew fucking lies, Dale, be quiet, please. Let me finish. Thank you. I know you want to spew your anti-Semitism too. But let's really cut to the fucking middle, shall we? All the aid that gets sent to these people, who steals it? That would be Hamas. Who keeps these people under an oppressive regime? That would be Hamas. Who hides in churches, mosques, and schools and then cries about it later on? That would be Hamas. So you got listen, MJ. I get it. You don't like Jews. It's okay. You're entitled to have your opinion. Jews. But let me finish. What do you mean? I know. I hear it every time you speak. But let me finish, please. This bullshit that it's this blatant anti-Semitism just because it's fucking Jews trying to live peacefully in their lands. That's some bullshit, man. Why don't you have the same smoke for Hamas, who started this whole fucking thing? But you guys also want to deflect about October 7th. And that's something I'll never allow. Hold on, MJ, I'm not done. But this is ridiculous. You pseudo-intellectuals. You're not pseudo-intellectuals. You're assholes who are fucking anti-Semites. Stand on your fucking square. Because rest assured that Jews ain't backing down anymore. We're not going to be punched down on, and we're not going to be silenced.
JB, do you feel that being against an Israeli state is the same as being against the existence of Jewish people? Do you think those are the same thing?
Yes, I do, actually. Actually, I do. Hold on, let me finish. You asked the question, let me finish. See, at this point, with all the anti-Semitism in the world, I think when you say things like that, you really mean let's get rid of the Jews. And maybe I'm being hypersensitive because I'm a Jew and I've seen so much shit in this world. Randy, hold on, bro. But I've seen so much shit, so much anti-Semitism in my city. It's ridiculous. By people who couldn't point out the river or the sea that they're chanting for. Yeah, Randy.
JB, no, I don't know. Do the Jews or the Jewish groups that what? Okay, I guess it's not a democracy. You're right. But
I just want to briefly say, the people of Gaza, they dug up their pipes and their plumbing to build rockets. You know, that was an actual decision to make, to dig up their pipes and make rockets. Yeah, there's a misconception out there that Gaza has to rely on Israel for all its gas and water. No, they don't. They have their own. They could have their own water plants, their own power plants. I'll say this: between 2006 and 2023, Gaza was a Palestinian state. It was a country. Unfortunately, it started by declaring war on Israel, and Israel enforced a blockade because that's what happens when people declare war on you.
Randy, let me
go ahead, sir. Thank you.
And I thank you, but I'm going to say this respectfully to you. You can give all the facts you want. The anti-Semitism just rises to the surface. They don't give a fuck about facts. Right. They don't care. Listen, Randy, let me finish. Let me finish.
God bless you. Yes.
Thank you. And let me say this. No matter what Israel does, they're always going to be the bad guy. They're always going to wear the black hat. By the MJ, I didn't mute you. I wasn't the one muting you. So, you know, I enjoy our conversations, but I know they go nowhere. Hold on. I know they go. Amit, I'm about to kick you out and not let you back in. I really don't give a fuck. You hear me having a dialogue with MJ, right? He's much more articulate with his anti-Semitism than you are. Go ahead, MJ.
Yeah, I don't think that the Jewish groups that are anti the establishment and maintenance of the state of Israel want to kill themselves or want to exterminate their own groups, their own families, their own loved ones. A state is a state, a religion is a religion. And being anti-Zionist, even though I'm not anti-Zionist, I think the state could exist. I'm not even anti-Zionist.
MJ, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you a question. Would you agree with this statement? Because this is going to show me how sincere you are. That 95 to 99% of the aid that was sent to the Palestinians was stolen by Hamas. Would you agree with that or no?
I have no information to make that determination.
Okay.
So, Ken, Ryan, I got to step aside for 5 minutes. Please, Ryan.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I wanted to finish. I was saying, I had one last thing.
You know what? You can go to another room. You can start your own room if you like. Okay? I'm going to get your mummy to spank you real quick. Okay, thanks. Awesome. MJ, you've taken up the mic for pretty decent period of time. I'm going to actually address something that Hamid said. He wants to educate me.
Before you do, just real quick.
Before you do, okay. There's the shut the fuck up button. Okay, let's use that. Okay, great. When people come up here and they want to be able to educate me, I'll tell you, I'll give you an education. Apartheid. Do you even know what the word means? Do you know what actually occurred in South Africa? I bet you don't. Apartheid started in 1948 and finished in 1994. Okay, it was in South Africa. There were 14 laws that were brought in. 14 acts that were brought in between that period. The first one started in 1949. The last one was in 1972. Actually 71, by recollection. None of these laws apply in Israel. So how the hell could you call Israel an apartheid? And especially when you've got over 20% of the population within Israel being Muslim Arab. Especially when the government of Israel has paid for the maintenance and building of over 400 mosques in Israel, especially when a Muslim Arab Supreme Court judge declared a president and a prime minister of Israel as being guilty of charges. It's absolutely fucking absurd. Hey Keegan, welcome.
If I may just say something real quick, and then I'll be back on this. I appreciate you guys for giving me a space. The last thing I'll say...
every time you open up your mouth, I tend to be able to correct just about everything you said.
That's fine. And I can bring the reference.
It's fine.
Yeah,
maybe instead of being fucking arrogant, okay?
How am I arrogant?
Go out and learn from yourself. Go and have a look at what apartheid is.
I promise you I will after this. Yeah, allow me to say my piece and then
make a comparison. Hang on. Make a comparison. The laws that exist within Israel versus the laws that exist in South Africa. This apartheid myth has been debunked. I can actually provide you with a document which is 129 pages long. Right? That debunks every single claim.
No problem. I'll read it. You can put it in the chat and I'll read it right now. In the meantime, I believe it was 2000 and it was before the October 7th, I believe it was 2020, if I'm not mistaken, when Donald Trump went to Israel in his first term. So this is prior to even Joe Biden becoming president, if I'm not mistaken. He met with both Hamas and he met with Netanyahu's cabinet. And he went away saying that Hamas was willing to make a deal for a two-state solution, but Netanyahu was not willing to make a deal. Now the question becomes this: what would make Donald Trump to say that statement, and does that statement of Donald Trump make him an anti-Semite?
Yeah, I believe that you're misquoting the situation as you're representing it. Okay, so I'll tell you what you can do. You can put a link in the chat. Okay, I'll have a look at it another time. I'm sick of people coming up here and just trying to demonize everything and anything that's got to do with Israel and Jews. It's fucking boring, tedious, and monotonous. Okay, it doesn't entertain me or anybody else. It just shows how fucking stupid people are.
Would I be able to offer another side of the idea of apartheid in the modern age? Is Saudi Arabia an apartheid state? I, as a Jew, and Christians are not allowed to go to the city of Mecca, which is the holiest city to Muslims, and pretty much always has been. Actually, that's not true. They originally made Jerusalem the holiest city to copy off of the Jews, and that's why Jerusalem is the holiest city to Muslims, because they decided to, literally Muhammad decided to copy off of Jews initially, and then the Jews made fun of him, and then he decided to change it to Mecca and Medina and all that. So that's why Jerusalem is the third holiest state in Islam. So just to give you that history story. But let's say, hypothetically, I wanted to take a trip to Mecca. I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but I, as a Jew, am not able to even go inside the city. It literally has signs. You can look this up. You don't trust the Zionist Jew. Oh, he's lying to you. Because the fact is that Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and pretty much any faith can go to Jerusalem and visit the holy sites there. Now, I can't visit Al-Aqsa because I'm a Jew, because apartheid. I guess there is apartheid in Jerusalem, and it's done by Muslims. So great. But the point being is that if you're going to use this standard of apartheid, then every single Muslim country in the Middle East is apartheid on steroids if you're going to insist that Israel is the, harbinger of apartheid to the region. Do you want to know why all the Jews left those Muslim countries and to go to Israel? It wasn't because we loved living under Dhimmi apartheid Sharia law. I can tell you that. So you could say apartheid till the cows come home, but until you acknowledge that every single Muslim country in the Middle East is more oppressive toward Jews and Christians, or at least Jews for sure, and that's why we left. It should be a no-brainer why we left to Israel, our holy land, which predates Islam by over 1,000 years, and the only occupation, once again, is that ugly mosque on top of our holy temple site, which, once again, pre-existed Islam by over 1,000 years. I'm Yisrael.
I agree with everything you say. And I'm from South Sudan, and we went through the same thing in North Sudan. So I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, you would agree with that type of rhetoric because what's happening and what the ambition of Israel is to do is to dominate the region. They want to expand. They know that this genocide that they committed on Palestinians is fruitless when they can, expand into Jordan, into Yemen, into Syria. These countries which are closely more along their borders. That's what they that is what their ambition is. They want to remove the Arab presence in that region, right? So that they can expand. Once they expand and they can grow more people, then they can try to dominate. This is a whole sick ideology, right? And that's what Hitler was initially trying to stop.
Yeah, then why do they keep withdrawing from territory? You're crazy, man. There's 15 million, there's not enough people. I mean, that is such a crazy conspiracy theory. I think you're projecting a lot onto Jewish people. Jews, I mean, it's just outrageous what you just said. In the meantime, they withdrew from the whole Sinai Desert. They withdrew from Lebanon. They've offered multiple peace deals to Palestinians. So, your whole idea that Jews steal land is showing something about your personality and your perspective on life.
Nobody said.
Everybody.
Hold on. Let me do a quick reset, Rohan. Let's bring the temperature down.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Thank you. Healthy debates, guys. Trump. Let's get back to the topic, man.
Please.
This Jew hate is bananas. Trump says Israel and Iran don't know what the fuck they're doing. So hold on, Big Rex. Please let me finish my reset. Let me say good morning to Michaela, Sal, Nikki, Hector. I see you. How you doing, Masha? Guys, you're welcome to come up. Bonnie, one of my favorite people. PB offering free psychological evaluations on the app in her rooms. B-Ma, good morning. Cal, Rabbi, good morning. You're welcome to come up. Dr. Amanda Fetch, recent graduate of Harvard. Congratulations, Dr. Fetch. Good morning, Bree. Good morning, Chief. Guys, if you have a pink ticket, please cash it in. We're having a very stimulating conversation. I don't know how educational it is, but back to Rohan.
There's so many things that I can disagree with you. I'm just going to pick apart one of the things about it's the ideology about expansion, right? This is what you said. Is that correct, Thug?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Okay. So you said what ideology? Whose ideology is it? Is it about the Jews or the Israelis?
There are no Israelis. They're Jews. The Israelis are made up stuff, and that's not such a thing. Palestinian. Palestine is the name of the country. Doug, you're breaking up, man. I can't understand you.
Yeah, what a shame. Okay, I think he said that Palestine's the name of the country. Israel is something that's made up.
He also, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not sorry because you keep on doing it.
No, actually, I don't keep on doing it. It's the first time I spoke. I wrote.
Who's that?
Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve.
Oh my God, Steve, my apologies. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm more than happy for you to be able to respond.
It's okay. It's just the only thing is you said you didn't hear what he said. I did.
Yeah, go.
He said There are no Israelis, only Jews. That's what he said, and happy Tuesday, everybody.
Hey, Uncle Steve.
Hi, JB.
Yeah, Thug Bully, I really suggest you upgrade your Google Maps if you're using Google Maps, which is, by the way, developed by a lovely Jewish guy, because there seems to be a glitch in your mapping system. There is a thing called Israel, and people who live there, they refer to themselves as being Israelis. Thug, I know this might hurt you, okay, but maybe if it does, there's a therapist, I'm sure, around the corner from you that would love to take your money.
There's one in the room right now. It's PB. Thug wants to have a session. But let me say good morning to... Hold on, Josh. Josh, hold on. I gotta say good morning to Vero. Good morning, Vero.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm just waking up. So far, so good. With a lot.
What do you think about Trump saying that Israel and Iran don't know what the fuck they're doing?
Oh my God! You know, no one knows what the fuck they're doing. We're just trying to figure it out as we go along, anyways. But I will say it's been interesting watching the people here in New York, kind of the liberals not knowing what to do or who to chant for anymore. It's been very.
I love that. That's so true. Hold on, Pikachu. Hold on, Pikachu. Hold on a second, because we got some new speakers that haven't spoke yet. But I want to go to Big Rex, then Josh, and then I'll come back to you, Pikachu. Big Rex, good morning.
Hey, good morning, JB. What's going on?
Still chilling. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to chime in real quick. I actually just listened to what Trump said, and he's absolutely right. Yeah, these people have been fighting so long that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I feel like Israel did. I don't think they did a good or smart move dropping those bombs. Not even 2 hours after he had the ceasefire in place. So, I mean, this just goes back to my thoughts and sentiments and perspective on it. I just think that these are people that they just like to fight, man. And until they get down to the real root of the issue, the real, true spiritual root of what's going on, they're gonna keep on fighting like they don't know what's going on. So I'm excited and I'm curious to see what becomes of this. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Big Rex. Appreciate you. Let's go to Josh, and then I want to go to, hold on, I can't see. It's Jai Coda. Josh, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Thank you. You as well. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I just want to say real quick to the guy who was speaking a couple turns ago, who said that Hitler was trying to stop Jewish domination. I want to say fuck you, and we don't want you in the pro-Palestinian solidarity movement. You're making the cause worse. You're just generating more reason for Zionism to exist by showing to people that everyone else in the world hates Jews. We're not like that. I don't believe that the majority of the pro-Palestine movement hates Jews. We just have a problem with the state of Israel in its current form. I would rather, if I can only talk about one thing, I wanted to go back to a historical topic about 1948, and I would just like to read a passage from Ilan Pape's book pertaining to the whole thing about a two-state solution and the Arabs rejecting it.
Can you do it in 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay.
As the Second World War drew to a close, the Jewish leadership in Palestine embarked on a campaign to push the British out of the country. Simultaneously, they continued to map out their plans for the Palestinian population, the country's 75% majority. Leading Zionist figures did not air their views in public, but confided their thoughts only to their closest associates or entered them into their diaries. One of them, Joseph Weitz, wrote in 1940, "It is our right to transfer the Arabs, and the Arabs should go." Ben-Gurion himself, writing to his son in 1937, appeared convinced that this was the only course of action open to Zionism. Quote, "The Arabs will have to go, but one needs an opportune moment for making it happen, such as a war." The opportune moment came in 1948. Ben-Gurion is in many ways the founder of the State of Israel, and was the first prime minister. He also masterminded the ethnic cleansing of Palestine.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Josh. Thanks for that stimulating read. Does Israel have a right to exist, yes or no?
Not in its current form.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Coda, good morning.
Yeah, morning. I just saw the video. And one thing I like is I think Trump has a plan, and he's had a plan about this all along.
Wait a second, is this inmate?
Yep.
Good morning, go ahead.
So I think Trump has had a plan with this all along. I think that he wanted to hit the strike, hit those nuclear bunkers, whatever, so that he can make Israel happy, and then behind closed doors try to make another agreement, because there's no way to stop the nuclear proliferation of Iran without diplomacy, because even if you blow up their shit now, they can just build it again under a bigger mountain. And we can't just keep hitting them back to back to back. And what Israel did, I think that I don't think they have any excuse. I really don't. And out of everything, the main person who was supporting it was the United States. And if it was spitting in the face of the United States, this president won't allow it. So this is going to be very interesting to see how it ends up. And to be honest with you, the Iranians have shown that they're not unreasonable either. They also agreed to a temporary ceasefire as well. The Iranians are not stupid. I don't have any idea what Israel's long-term strategy is, because Iran cannot be defeated without nuclear weapons, and the West is not going to use nuclear weapons against Iran because of their positioning, and they don't want to fuck up world trade. They don't want to fuck up world trade. They just don't. So I have no idea what Israel's plan is. It really just seems like they don't know what they're doing, and they feel like the United States is going to back them at every single decision that they make.
Jay, I have a question or two for you. So you did say that Iran appears to be reasonable. Did you just say that?
They don't seem to be completely unreasonable. They don't seem to be.
They don't seem to be completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
Haven't they, for the past 40 years, been constantly saying death to Israel and death to the United States?
Yeah, but it's war.
Yes, okay. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Yeah, but they say it explicitly, but I mean, look at what we do to their regions. We don't say death to the Middle East.
Because they say it explicitly, that makes them reasonable. Is that your argument?
No. I'm saying that that's war, and we've done pretty terrible things in the Middle East. We just don't say it explicitly. So what we say is we're trying to spread freedom, but then we just destroy countries and kill millions of people.
Jai, look, terrorism is a terrible thing. Can we agree? We agree with that? Yes.
Yeah, but terrorism.
Okay, hang on. I want to take you down a path.
I think I'm conflating the point with something else.
No, trust me on this. Okay. Terrorism is not a good thing, correct? Yes or no?
No, terrorism is not a good thing.
Okay, it's a terrible thing, right? So every country, every state has a declaration of designated terrorist organizations. If you do a search on Google, you're going to find 90% of terrorist organizations in the world today are Islamist. Okay, please take a note, do it yourself, don't take my word for this. Iran is one of the biggest sponsors of terrorism in the world today. Okay, now again, don't take my word for this, go and do some search. They sponsor and support and have helped bolstered and build Hamas, which has Nazi-like ideologies, wanting to be able to kill Jews and also to be able to wipe Israel off the entire planet. And Israel is one of America's, if not, well, it is America's best friend in the region. Same thing goes for Hezbollah, same thing goes for Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The Houthis, maybe do a search and find that, as it was suggested to you maybe earlier, that there were 2 million people in Yemen in the streets calling for the death of America and the death of Israel. And Iran is sponsoring these entities. And you want to tell me, or you want to convince other people that they are reasonable?
That's
I
not what you say at all.
to respond quickly, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I just came to say my opinion. And listen, I'm not here to convince you to not be a Zionist. You can do what you want to do. That's not my business. I'm just saying that after the strikes that Trump went out of his way to do, which was politically risky for him, given his base and given the left, a lot of, like 70% of Americans, they don't want to be in another regime change war.
Bingo.
And he did Israel a favor. And after having the West look strong, after having Israel kind of vindicated by Trump's actions, Israel proceeds to still escalate. And if you love your country so much, if you love Jews so much, if you love the idea of Israel so much, I think it's time to start thinking strategically, because if Israel keeps going down this path, they can't.
You're making out. Hang on.
They can't win. They can't.
Jai, mute up. I think your news feed needs to be looked at because there might be a technical issue. Israel didn't actually initiate this at all. They didn't initiate this war. Hamas was the entity which came into Israel, murdered people, took hostages, and so forth. In terms of this fighting with Iran, the last recent bout, Iran had sent missiles into Israel. Israel responded. Why would there be a problem?
We're not talking about who started it, sir. We're talking about where it is now. And if Israel doesn't move to de-escalate, Israel is going to be destroyed, and Israel is going to use.
Isn't there a ceasefire right now on both sides?
No.
No, there's not.
No,
there's not. There's not.
Israel fucked up that ceasefire, and to be honest, they were in.
Wait a second, inmate. Like Rohan said, respectfully. I don't know. Hold on, man. Hold on. From what I understand, Iran broke the ceasefire, and Israel struck back. So please listen, man. I welcome you to my stages. I welcome what you say. I don't agree with it, but if you're gonna say something like that, at least get the facts right. Iran fired the missile 2 hours after the ceasefire, and Israel retaliated. Now, I'm not gonna say Israel's perfect, but I'm gonna say at least get your facts right.
That's what you gotta say. I'm not even an anti-Zionist guy like all these guys crying for the Palestinians. I don't care.
Nobody's
just dispassionate. I'm just looking at this from a dispassionate, strategical point. If Israel doesn't start de-escalating, it's not going to be in a good position, because they can't win the war alone, and I don't think the United States is going to be there.
Exactly. I've just about had enough. Okay, Jai, I'm all in favour of having a conversation. Okay, if a moderator, including myself, including anybody else who's got a green being here, needs to be able to talk, that doesn't give you the indication to be able to keep on talking. Okay, it's pretty standard that's here. Like I said, you don't understand. Your feed, your news feed, seems to be upside down for some reason. It wasn't Israel who broke the ceasefire. It was Iran. The IRGC fired rockets into Israel. Israel retaliated. When a country retaliates, that's not initiating. Okay? Please go and check your sources. It's probably a really good idea.
Well, can I go next, please?
Sure.
Yep. Who is that, Dayo?
Yeah.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah, I just want to go back to talking about Trump.
Now, can I just respond to one thing that Jai said? Jai, please, if you think that Israel could not cream Iran overnight, bomb the shit out of them, destroy them, they could do it in a minute. They're using tremendous self-control. They're only going after military leaders. They're shooting missiles at the 7th floor of a building. But dude, don't think that Israel couldn't cream Iran. They already knocked down their
All right, thank you. Okay, let's move on. Dale,
thank you.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I gotta go back to Trump. If that's okay.
By all means, by all gods, please go back to Trump.
Yeah. So the thing about the issue about who broke the ceasefire, Ro is right in regards to the fact that the timeline of events. But what's interesting about that timeline of events is that Trump is more upset at Israel
regardless of the fact that it was Iran that broke the ceasefire, like technically speaking, right? But Trump seems to be more upset about Israel. And also, I was just reading that Trump has just during that same time when he was talking, and I want to get like what the pulse of the rooms, get a temperature check on this real quick. Is that he just recently said he didn't want to see regime change in Iran. He said that, and I quote, "If there was, there was, but no, I don't want it. I like to see everything come down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos, and ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos."
Okay.
And that's it. That's all I wanted to bring out.
Okay,
So wait a minute, hold on. Dale, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that this entire operation is about regime change, or it was just about the nuclear facilities?
I don't know, because I'm not in the intel community, nor am I in Trump's mind. And Trump is like, he's he wants one thing one time and another thing another time. All I'm doing is quoting what the man said, which is that he doesn't want regime change. And at the end of the day, for you to bring up that you don't want regime change means that there was a narrative being spun, whether or not that's something Trump wanted to begin with, whether or not that was something Netanyahu wanted to begin with, whether or not that's what the more radical right side of Netanyahu wanted to begin with. I don't know. All I'm doing is providing a quote from Trump that says he doesn't want regime change.
Thank you.
That's it.
Well, I'd like to go to Arsalan. Arsalan, are you there? Because I haven't heard from Arsalan yet. Arsalan, are you there? Say that again. Who was that, CO?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Arsalan.
Okay, so I just want to let you know about the Iranian point of view, because I haven't seen any Iranian here. But first of all, we are not. It's not Iran. It's Iran.
Well, Arsalan, who's a mod, is Iranian. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, as an Iranian, I can say more than 90% of Iranians have a dual feeling right now. I mean, during that 12 days of war. First of all, we were happy, basically. We were so happy that Israel hit the nuclear plants, missiles, and all the places that during last 46 years make us upset. Whatever happened in the region, the head of the snake is Iran. So everything comes from the Hamas, Yemen, Hezbollah, everything I can say are coming from Iran. And the other side, basically, we're worried. We're worried about people. We're worried about the civilian. I'm worried about my back home Tehran. I'm worried about my family. They moved for 12 days to north of Iran. So basically, it's a dual feeling. So you need to know about what we feel. Basically, most of us are happy with what Bibi and US did. I can say that, but at the same time, we are worried about our people. We're worried about, we're worried about our country, right? Our beautiful country. This is what. So if you have any question about Iranian, it's better to ask me. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to address something in the chat, right, before I go to CO. So Rob says you guys are incapable of an objective in regards to Israel. I believe you support Israel more than the United States. Sid, I'd like that. Give me my tax money back then, if that was true. I think that makes you a traitor, especially considering the bulk of you aren't from Israel and don't have real ties to Israel. Amazing. It's amazing the level of dumb stupidity on this app. Go ahead, CO. Hold on, Dale. Dale, hold on. CO wanted to interject. He hasn't spoken much. I'm going to hand the mic to him and I'll come back.
Yeah, I think an issue worth discussing, and I would love to hear somebody in the room talk about it, is how, and as we, with the title being Trump says they don't know what the fuck they're doing, does Trump and his brain trust know what the hell they're doing? And here, let me preface what I'm about to say, I appreciate the support that Trump gave to the situation, to the Middle East, to Israel, to the Iranian person on the line in terms of saying, dropping the bombs on the nuclear sites. Good move. Maybe it's a game changer for whatever it's worth to set the tone for the Middle East. I agree that Iran should not have nuclear weapons. I agree with the peace accord that was in place, that was taken off the table. So my question is, with the complexities of these issues underscored by the tense conversations that we have in these rooms, these issues really take a lot of intellect, a lot of strategy, a lot of understanding of history, a lot of understanding of the people, right? This geopolitical issue and all of the military situations that are going on. These things are hard. They're not easy. That's why they've happened for so long. A person mentioned earlier how regime change isn't the question. It's not an A or a B answer. It's deeper than that. It's the regime that changes the right regime. How do we not go into the same spaces we've been in, like with Afghanistan and the Taliban, and so forth and so on? So these things are complex. Do we have the right people in place in the United States between Trump getting rid of the previous brain trust that we've had before, putting Hegspeth, whatever his name, in place, and then having the counterterrorism person that we have in place, been a 22-year-old fresh out of college, whose job is to champion protecting us from terrorism. My question generally is, do we have the right brains in place to even partner with Israel or do anything with regards to regime change in Iran? Dropping a bomb is one thing, but the intelligence to move us past this so that we don't repeat these challenges is hard. I'll stop there and see if anybody has any input.
Yeah, Theo, thank you for going back to the regime change thing, because that's mainly the reason why I brought up what Trump said, because there's been instances where Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump himself have talked about regime change, and it seems like Trump understands that it seems like Trump is starting to understand the nuance of that aspect of trying to do regime change. Like, do we actually have the capability? I mean, maybe have the capability, but do we have the resilience? Let me put it that way, because of course the United States military has the capability, but does it have the resilience to really conduct an operation where it does regime change? And for me, now I'm going back to just my humble opinion and my humble perspective on this, is that if regime change does not happen, right, and particularly given the fact that that was something I was mentioning about Benjamin Netanyahu, right? If it does not happen, I'm not sure what the hell was the point of all of this. Other than, of course, the nuclear stuff, I get that point. But what is stopping, if you don't change the regime, and the regime still is going to want nuclear weapons, what is stopping them 4 years from now going back to the path of getting nuclear weapons? If you don't change the quote-unquote regime.
And Dale, if I could really quick, and then please, I welcome other moderators, anybody to weigh in. Yeah. I don't think the issue is regime change or not regime change. The Iranian people have to do what they need to do for the best of their country, right? We can't necessarily impose that. I don't know how strategically we do that from the United States. My position is more beyond just the oversimplification of should they change regimes or should they not. I'm just saying there's a lot of issues on the table. This is where there's always the reason there's always been strife in the Middle East. I'm saying, do we have the intelligence? I know Trump is saying they don't know what they're doing, but do we have the capacity to operate in a way that's strategically best for the region and for the United States from where we are now?
I don't know whether that's the actual intent. So in order to be able to answer that, I think it's important to be able to understand the intent. My gut feeling about the intent is that a more stable Middle East is a better thing for America. And I'll say that really clearly. A more stable. It doesn't necessarily mean regime change, but a more stable Middle East looks like Iran not having nuclear capabilities and to be able to pose a threat. It also looks like minimizing the harm that terrorist organizations can wield over entities within the Middle East as well. So intent is really important, CEO.
Hey, when you say intent, would you clarify? Who's intent?
Yeah, sure. What you say? Well, you were talking about Trump or America's intention, correct?
No, not necessarily. Not the intention. Their intelligence. Basically, do we have the brain power in office to really handle these issues in a way like, Dr. Goddess referred to just briefly, Dr. Goddess alluded to earlier that Trump's art of a deal, sometimes he thinks of business. He thinks of other things. And if we think about, I don't want to get into the whole demonizing Trump thing, but from tariffs to a lot of things that Trump has done, to me, it leaves a lot on the table in terms of, do we have the collective intellect and the administration to handle the complexities of a lot of these issues? I think the tariffs, as an example, he didn't really understand economics in the way he willy-nilly tried to roll out tariffs, right? Tariffs could be good if done smartly, right? So here we're dealing with war strategy, right? The people that he has in place, Fox News analysts, defense secretary, so forth and so on. I'm just asking, with all of the nuance of all of these issues, outside of asking, which is a great question at the top of the room, do Netanyahu, Israel, or Iran know what they're doing? I'm saying, does our administration have the intellect to do what needs to be done to create peace in the Middle East?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is there an instance we can look back on where America has been able to display that there is a capability of being able to change over regime successfully? That would be maybe a yardstick to be able to look at. The second thing is that I don't know that it's the American administration's role, whether that, first of all, their role to be able to do that, nor I don't know whether it's their intention to be able to do that or their desire to be able to do that. It would sort of stand to reason that whether it's Israel, whether it's America, whether it's a combination of the two or even more entities who want to be able to see regime change, to be able to bring in peace, maybe there could be a collective effort to be able to work with the Iranian people such that there is democratically elected leadership. That, to me, would actually make a lot more sense to be able to make happen.
Let me jump in real quick, CEO, because I want to welcome some new people to the stage, and then we can circle back. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Uncle Steve. I didn't get a chance to say good morning to you. Good morning, Amanda.
Hey, good morning, Jay. I just want to say one thing.
Oh, my apologies. Good morning, Dr. Amanda. You've earned a doctor. You're not a fake clubhouse doctor. You're a real doctor.
Jay, I should stop responding. I'm sorry. After all the time and money, right? But I just want to say one quick thing, and then I'll yield for a second. So, what Sia was saying, my opinion, and so I was somebody, I'd say, until the past, I don't know, 5 years or so, do I want to say? I didn't have much insights into the government or really know much of what was going on. But then through my research and being a part of some organizations, doing some work with Department of State and CENTCOM, which, as you know, is kind of in the middle of this. I also got to see, which was interesting, a couple weeks ago in St. Louis, Tulsi Gabbard speak. And I wasn't a fan at all. But when I heard her speak, it kind of changed my perspective a little bit on what she was saying, because it's one thing to see what the media wants us to see, how they splice things up, how news articles are. It's another to actually go to somewhere where there's intelligence professionals speaking and you actually have insights into what these people are looking at, what they're doing, that you have a whole different kind of perspective. That's why sometimes when I see people say, we should fear this country, we should fear that country, and now working with these people, knowing what we do know, I'm like, well, not so much, or this or that. That I try not to insert myself. I kind of keep it to myself. But one thing I will say is, to your point, CEO, I don't think it's a matter at all. Like I said, doing some work with CENTCOM, it's not a matter of all about our intelligence and what we want to do and what we know we should do or shouldn't do. The issue here is we have figureheads, to your point, in place that are able to pull the trigger. Okay, so whether we want to do it or whether the intelligence says we should do it now or shouldn't do it now is up for debate, but the facts are it comes to the point where it doesn't always matter right now, which is scary. It's kind of like, well, yeah, you told me this, but I'm going to do this kind of thing. So that's, I think, what scares me. So to your point, it's twofold. Do we know what we're doing and everything? Absolutely, we know everything we're doing. The problem is who's making the decisions might veer off in their own sort of being in their own bubble and kind of doing what they want to do. That's the scary thing, and that's why, not to get too political here, that's what kept me from Trump in the end, was his circle that's directly around him more than even him himself. Because those people pulling triggers, I don't think, to your point, they do have the brain power, the capacity.
Thank you, Dr. Fetch. Rohan, I'm going to give it to you in a second. I just want to say, gentlemen in the room, ladies in the room, she's not just a pretty face, she's actually quite brilliant. Okay.
Hi, Amanda. It's Rowan here. Nice to see you again. Curious, the question that Cito was posing is, does America have the wherewithals, the experience to be able to implement a regime change? I'm curious, why do you feel that America is...
Brian, just please clarity, just in terms of...
Yeah, please. I mean, clarify if I've misunderstood.
So my question wasn't predicated on regime change, right? I was saying that Americans, typically us laymen, don't have the sophistication to understand the complexities of all these geopolitical issues, right? From, the tribal aspects that happen within and sects within Iran, that are, Iran is a theocracy, it's not a democracy, right? What happened in the history with the Ayatollah before, Israel's right to exist. I'm saying there's a lot of diversity in our thoughts and how we look at these issues. So what I'm saying is, on a higher level, the American government, right? We have, Trump is hiring people like the doctor just referred to represent, from Marco Rubio to the Defense Secretary, to who's, every person that he's hired so far have challenges with the level of intellect compared to previous regimes. Not saying who pulled the trigger, who did what. Not talking about dropping a bomb. Not trying to be funny. That didn't take a whole lot of brilliance. The American government and the military is capable of that. I'm saying to be a partner, not to instigate regime change, but to be a partner and broker peace, just like we're supposed to do it with Ukraine, right? I'm saying Trump's part of the deal concept. Do we have enough strategists in office to be a good partner to the Middle East? Because we would hope the goal isn't just to drop a bomb and walk away. Yep. In a diplomatic way, how can we, between the United States, between the nations, between G7, how can we smartly use our influence?
Well, did he drop out?
Yes.
Regime change. I'll leave it there.
So just to back up maybe 10 seconds, if you could. You dropped out for a short while.
No, I just said, do we have the smart to be a good partner diplomatically beyond just dropping bombs and not bombs, beyond regime change but not regime change? I agree with you, Ron. We shouldn't be responsible for regime change in Iran or Israel, right?
Okay, I understand your question.
This diplomatic.
I understand your question a little bit more clearly. Okay, thanks for clarifying. I think, look, any individuals or entities, or for that matter, cultures, will only, in my opinion, get to be able to know each other over a period of time. And the culture between the West and also the Middle East is very, very different. The mindset is very, very different. The history is also very different, although there are similarities and overlaps, obviously. But I think we should have maybe a little bit more confidence that there is a level of intelligence within the American government, and also experience in more recent years, given that America has been involved in the Abraham Accords in a very delicate way, and helping to develop relationships between the West and also the Middle East. Since Israel is also now in closer ties with a series of countries in the region, there is a better connection, a better understanding, and an understanding of the cultures and so forth. So I think perhaps there is a better chance of that occurring. Whether it's as strong as it could be, I don't think it could be at this point. But I guess given time, who knows?
Thank you, everybody. Let's go to George. George, how you doing? Good morning. George Perseus.
Hey, guys.
Good morning.
What's up?
Do you want to chime in on the conversation?
Yeah. The thing that's been on my mind is, the very question, like, do we have what it takes? I think there's so many brilliant minds at play.
Like give me an example of 2 brilliant minds at play.
Oh, I mean, like intelligence networks and State Departments and spies and all that. So I think regime change would solidify peace in the Middle East more than anything. And hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. I think those very people would like a regime change. I think it's like the late communist Soviet government that's like shit. I wish, excuse my language, I wish they could take us out so we could have a free democratic society, but that's just the nature of orthodoxy, is you can't speak against it, so the whole people could be believing one thing, but they have to pretend like they believe something else. There's a problem with orthodoxy itself. We see that with our cultures of political correctness on the left, and now on the right, you know, we've kind of, the right is kind of like, you know, the characteristics that the left had, where kind of...
We got some woke right people for sure.
Yeah, so it's the orthodoxy itself. That's...
Thank you, George. Thank you for the show. Let me say good morning to Sergio. Good morning, Sergio.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, man. Nice to hear you. Nice to meet you. Thank you. I'm fine. Yeah.
Do you want to chime in on the conversation?
Yeah. I want to say something. I think that the peace in the Middle East can be only if this regime, evil regime in Iran, will be changed. Yeah, and I think that now it's not the finish, and because nuke program is very important thing. It was but isolationists that stopped Trump from this achievement, and to not give to the Iranian people the chance to be in a freedom and a peaceful country that there was.
So Sergio, let me ask you a question. I agree there needs to be regime change. I've been saying it for years, right? This regime over there, the IRGC, is the biggest shit stirrer in the region. But my question is for you is, whose responsibility is it for a regime change? Is it America's responsibility? Is it Israel? Let me finish. Or is it the Iranian people rising up and taking back their country? Who's responsible?
I agree with you, and that's a reasonable question. Firstly, of course, it's responsibility of Iranian people, but I think that the biggest symbol of this regime is Ayatollah, and if somebody knows where he is, he must be eliminated, like number one terrorist in the world. And after this symbol will be destroyed, I think that no one IRGC can resist with the people, because people will do something. And also, I want to mention one thing, that we don't know what's happened now, because it's blackout. There is no internet still, yeah? IRGC is catching people in the streets and torture them in these institutions like Basij. And 20 minutes ago, we heard the strike on Basij building. We'll see what's happened next, but I think that if there is one people in the world who deserve to be in freedom, it's Iranian people. I hope that they will be, free.
Thank you, Sergio. So, just reading some articles after what Trump said this morning, where his exact quote was, Israel and Iran don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's interesting the feedback people are giving, and a lot of it is, I've never heard a president talk like that to the media. Like, he really lost his shit this morning. I haven't seen the video yet. Rohan says it's amazing. Some other people said it's pretty amazing. So if somebody can find that video and put it in the chat of him losing his shit this morning, that'd be pretty cool. Let me go to Arash Critic. Arash Critic, are you there?
Yes, I am. As a viewer,
good morning.
I couldn't agree more with Sergio. Good morning. Sorry for not saying hello to everyone.
No, it's fine.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. It seems that Sergio understands the Iranians and the Iran situation better than anyone else at the moment, in my opinion. So I wanted to tell everything.
You said you're Iranian, sir?
Yes, I am Iranian.
Let me ask you a question. What's it going to take for the Iranian people to uprise and take back their country?
As Sergio said, as long as the IRGC and their symbol Ayatollah has have their power. Iranians with bare hands literally cannot do anything. That's the problem.
So basically, you're basically relying on American Israel to help empower you people.
Exactly, because for more than 45 years, people tried to take down the regime with bare hands, with their protests, but it didn't work. So we need another strategy.
See, this is one of the things that confused me. Let me see if Max will come up. And I'm just playing devil's advocate, Rash. There's 90 million people. You have the numbers. I understand you don't have the weapons. But 90 million people against, I'm going to assume, less than a million people in the IRGC and the powers that be over there. The numbers just add up in your favor. And I think if there was an uprising now while the country's under attack, it could be successful. What do you think?
It's a good point, but in my opinion, over 10 million people are real government supporters, and more than half of Iranian people are religious. So they think if they protest against the regime, they're protesting against the God, and that really makes the situation more complicated.
Thank you, Rash. We're going to go popcorn style. CEO, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think you make a good point in terms of the difference in the number of people, but just like every other authoritarian or theocracy, authoritarian regime or theocracy, from South African apartheid on, the numbers aren't the issue. The minority can control when they control the police force, the government, the military forces, and all aspects of government. Right? I just wanted to note that just briefly, and then also say. Back to the point I was making for what it was worth, we're not going too far from where we are. For America and however they influence regime change or support regime change or what have you in the area, I'm just concerned about this, and I just wish people would just speak about this honestly, man. It just bugs the crap out of me. I didn't like the way that Donald Trump brought the South African president to the Oval Office and spoke to him. He didn't do any good stuff there with his tough talk. He didn't do anything good with the Ukrainian president with his tough talk. With the G7, that hasn't worked. They have disrespect for him. The Canadian prime minister, it didn't work. Debo in Mexico early on didn't work. This whole, I like Trump because he talks tough. I don't like the fact that he would partner with, Netanyahu and then publicly blast him and say he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I just don't. I just have not seen this bear good fruit, and would love somebody else's opinion. I know we're pro-American and America first, and the theory is similar, like as we're discussing these other regimes, you have to agree with the person that's in power at that time. But I just really wish that we would hold Trump accountable to some, regardless of what political party you are.
Well,
to say that this is complicated. Yeah, I land here, JB, but I'm just saying this is just hard to watch this guy deal with these tough issues in this brute cowboyish way that doesn't freaking work.
Well, let me say this. First off, we'll see. We haven't got there yet, but I'm sure it's going to come up. But CEO, he's boorish, right? He don't hide it that he's very a very rude man. But we don't know the agreement. And listen, I'm not trying. You haven't been around me long enough to know that I bash Donald Trump on a daily basis, right? But we don't know what kind of agreement that he had with Netanyahu or the Ayatollah, right? That he's so pissed off. They made a deal, and then they both, Netanyahu may have gone back on the deal. I don't know. I agree how he handles some foreign diplomats, whether it's the Canadian Prime Minister or any of these other diplomats. I thought what he did to Zelensky was embarrassing. I agree with that. But before we continue, let me say good morning to Masha real fast. Good morning, Masha.
Good morning. By the way, I'm Masha.
Masha, my bad. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm an idiot. Okay.
I'm Iranian too, but I don't live in Iran. And I was listening to part of your conversation, and I just wanted to reflect part of what most Iranians things now, like from inside the country, like the public opinion, like of the majority of Iranians, if you don't mind. I think that the situation, that the political situation in Iran is really despairing now, and most of the Iranians, they have a kind of a conflicting feeling about what's going on. And now in social media before, because I just woke up like half an hour ago, so I don't know if internet is on or off now in Iran, but I was following until late night, like 2 o'clock something, and people were kind of very disappointed because right now there is a kind of a, as I said, people were very sad because their country was attacked and war is not good. But on the other hand, they are under the suppression of a tyrant regime for many years. And they would say that as a kind of an opportunity. Maybe it ends up in something. And now seems like everything is finished. So the country is kind of, well, I know that most of the army stuff and IRGC places were attacked and nuclear sites that honestly, me, myself, if it doesn't have radiation problem, I don't care because it didn't have any benefit to the public, nothing. But right now, people paid for this war, like 12 days war. Like me, myself, my brother was there. He left Tehran a few days ago. And people who lived in Tehran during these days, especially past 2 nights, it was really, really horrifying. And you cannot say that there were not casualties. Like the casualties were limited, but there were a lot of casualties, like civilian casualties. And now they feel that, okay, everything is finished. We paid for a war, and now we have to deal with this regime again, who is now kind of there, like people are left with this regime, who is now weak from outside, but then will revenge from the people. So I myself, I'm worried what is the next reaction of the regime for the people inside, because
that's up to the people, Masha. That's up to you. That's up to the Iranian people.
No.
Let me finish, please. I let you speak freely. Let me just say this. If the people need regime, it's only going to come from the inside. Israel's not coming in there for a regime change. They may help from the sky. America's definitely not coming in for regime change. The Iranian people have to seek regime change on their own. And that's really the truth.
Yes, but this is this is not the first time that people tried for regime change. There were a lot of, I don't know how much you are aware of what's going on inside Iran. There were like movements, there were reform movements, there were protests, and 2-3 years ago there was a big protest and for human rights, and actually there was a hope for regime change, but all of them are brutally suppressed. So the government, the regime is very strong, and you have to also, I don't 100% agree with Arash. You have to also consider that a lot of people, they are like I don't know, like it's like a gray. They have gray position. Yes, they are not happy.
Ma'am, I need you to land your plane, please.
They don't like the regime for sure, but they don't want to go, and they're not political, and they don't want to pay for this change. And I give the right to them, because like why should them sacrifice their life?
Hold on. Why should they sacrifice their life for freedom? Let them sit around and let the regime just beat their people, rape their people, put them in prison. Why should they stand up? Why should another country come in and do a regime change? Why? Rohan, you try to jump in, go ahead.
Marcel, look, I appreciate you coming in to the room and also up on the stage. I hope that you and your family and friends are safe. It must be very terrifying to be even close by what's going on in Iran at the moment. I can imagine, and also understand from other people that I've spoken to, that it's a terrifying time, but also an exciting time. One that offers opportunity and hope as well. There's look, and we hope for the sake of the Iranian people that they do rise up, they do take the opportunity, if they see it fit to be able to do so, to deal with the government if they don't want the government to be in power. I've learned from talking to and also reading about the type of oppression the Iranian people have been experiencing for many years. I understand there's approximately 80 to 90% of the population, which is about 90 million people in Iran at the moment, would actually prefer to be able to have a regime change, and we've been discussing the complexities that are involved in the regime change. I think what it comes down to, from what I'm seeing, is that Israel would ideally like to be able to have a regime change. I think America would also ideally like to be able to have a regime change. I think realistically that it's going to be up to the Iranian people to be able to stand up, to be able to fight and potentially lose some lives in the process of making that happen and creating a new chapter for the Iranian people. It's obvious that Israel is many, a couple of thousand kilometers away from Iran. It's completely impractical for Israel to be able to put feet on the ground, and also I don't believe that the American people or the American government, for that matter, wish to be able to put feet on ground. But there is certainly, from what I can see, at this point in time, a key opportunity, in fact, probably the best opportunity for the Iranian people to be able to have a regime change right now, given that the IRGC has been attacked in so many different ways, given that resources, banks, given the internet, communication systems, television stations, IRGC headquarters, and military targets are being taken out. Iran is probably at its weakest point, or the IRGC, sorry, is at its weakest point in history. But I think it's going to be up to the Iranian people to decide, whether now is the right time to be able to rise up and take advantage of it. Thanks for listening.
Well,
and I hope you.
I got you, Marshall. Let me just say this. This is my opinion. I don't have any documents to back up what I'm saying. I think the time for regime change is past. And unless these people rise up, there's nobody coming on a white horse to save them. And that's sad, because I'd love to see the Iranian people be free. But go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of things. One, most people, when rebelling against a strong central government, usually need some funding. And whether it's the kind of funding we give Ukraine or whether it's the kind of funding France gave to us. Folks need that kind of covert funding to make some of that stuff happen. Having said that, I would hope our Iranian friends would not expect the United States to put military troops in Iran. It is something the American public would be deeply opposed to, and it would be incredibly expensive. I've been thinking about Louis the 16th as of late, the one who lost his head to the guillotine. He had 5 successive finance ministers, our version of treasury secretaries, basically, telling him that he was broke. Not kind of broke, not just like a little broke, but like he was broker than all get out, and he just kept spending. And the United States is at a place where our first largest expense is still mandatory spending, which is Medicare, disability insurance, Social Security. But close on our heels, close on number two, and with the way Donald Trump spends our debt, the interest on our debt that we pay will end up taking the number one spot. We are in a financial place where we do have to be very careful. You know, a couple of $2 billion in a $6.7 trillion U.S. budget is not a ton of money to ask for when thinking about $6.7 trillion.
Marshall, this is not a financial room, Marshall, but go ahead.
No, I realize it's not financial. I feel like the figures are probably important for people. What I was going to say was there is a real consideration to be made for the American public and our vital national security interests, not just to help our ally, but to make sure we don't get so entangled that we wind up like Louis XVI, ignoring finance ministers who told him he was broke. Aside from the French Revolution, which everybody thinks of at the end of Louis's reign, it ushered in the rise of Napoleon. So I am fascinated by this sort of figure and talk about not yet.
Thank you.
But the point being, the monarchical systems broke because they were broke. And so the American public and the American national security establishment has to keep that in mind as we help our Iranian friends.
Listen, Marshall, let me say this, and then I'm going to go to some speakers. The Iranian, that's just my belief as an American, right? And as a Zionist. If these people, these Iranian people, these strong historical people, started to rise up, rest assured America, regardless of the price, is going to jump in and help them. Same thing I believe with Israel. Because both our countries want regime change. And I believe once these people find the will to do it, money's not going to... What's the price of freedom, Marshall? What's the price to release an oppressive regime that kills their own people? It's bizarre to me. Everything has to come down to money. It makes no sense to me. And I'm not pushing back on you. I'm just saying at some point we got to forget the money. And if it's going to bankrupt us because, you know, Donald Trump has an unlimited credit card, then so be it. If it saves 90 million people from oppression, we'll be the biggest fucking hypocrites in the world, you know, saying that America's the greatest country, but we let these people get murdered and raped and put in prison for not wearing the hijab right. I don't give a shit about the money. But that's just me as a taxpayer. Hold on, Marshall. Okay.
That's a purely imperial matter. I don't disagree with you.
Marshall, not everybody thinks on your level, Marshall. I'm talking about just on a human level. This conflict is not about money. Listen, Marshall, we spent over $6 billion to blow up their nuclear facility. $6 billion would it be? Now that may not be much to the American government. That's a lot of money to everybody in this room. But you gotta forget the money. How about the human equation? And helping these people get freedom finally.
I think the human equation is important, Jay, but I will tell you what I think is even more important. What our national defense establishment tells us is our best near-peer competitors. And the truth of the matter is Iran sits at number 3 and China sits at number 1. And as much as we would like to help people out, we don't have permanent friends, we have permanent interests.
I get it.
One of those permanent interests is making sure that we're around to do that. Having said all of that, I completely understand where you're coming from.
Thank you, Marshall. So I want to get some new speakers involved, please, and we pass the mic around. I want to go to Omar. Good morning, Omar.
Good morning, JB. Good morning to the mods. This is a good room, good space.
I give all the credit to Rohan.
Yeah, I know that's right, man. You know, what I'm seeing, you know, particularly in a lot of these online Discord, and even maybe in some of the protests out there, you know, people trade in their Palestinian flags, and then when the immigration thing happened, the Mexican flag. Now I'm seeing a lot of Iranian flags. And I think a lot of people on the left, or left-centered thinking, I wouldn't put a Democrat or Republican on it, they're thinking that this regime is the best thing for the Iranian people. It's funny how, you know, they can just use that as this thinking, because Iranian people are getting oppressed for the last 40, 50 years, probably 40 years, at least since 79, right? But they have no sympathy for those Iranian people that want to change their government for the people, you know? And I just say we have to put their interests at our hearts, man, and put our selfishness aside and let the Iranian people choose. If they want a regime change, let them choose that. And I land there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you share. Let's welcome. Oh, Nicole's here. Hey, good morning, Nicole. How you doing?
Good morning.
I love when you come to my spaces. Do you want to chime in, Nicole?
Hey, so I was listening. Hey, JB. Hey, everybody. I was just listening to everybody. I'm just kind of working in the background. I've just been following this. I voted for Trump, and I'm just kind of like sitting and watching, and I'm praying that he makes the best decisions on behalf of the United States. People forget, when this first happened, I was like, oh my God, I don't want World War III. That's not what I voted for. But then at the same time, because I have a son that's active duty military, shout out to all of you that are active duty and that have served. Thanks for your service. But anyway, I just concerned, JB, people forget why so many people want to come to the U.S. in the first place. And that's because we are free. Freedom cost. Freedom cost. People have to be on the front lines to stand up for freedom. And that means that some people who don't like us have to be stopped. That means countries who have our best interests at heart have to be protected. And it gets murky up and through there because some countries I feel like have favoritism over other countries and this and that. But you don't get to world power and like the U.S., why so many people are trying to get here like they are for a reason. It's because here, those things that people died for, all those many wars and things, that's why. And even though we don't like it, I certainly don't like it. I have a son in the active military. I don't like it. I'm praying constantly that we stay in a peaceful world, but there are some countries that don't want peace. So now what do you do? When they're screaming, I don't like America, that alarms me. I don't know about other people, but that alarms me. So what do? You just let these people build nuclear weapons? Like, what do we do? Like, how do you do that? You know, these people, if they have the resources, they're coming for you, your family, your house. And you have the resources and the allies that can help you. You know, I don't have a dog in the fight, like a position held fast, but I just feel like the United States has to protect our best interests, and all the people fighting to stay here. This has to be protected. Hello, that's all.
Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate you. So I want to shout out Hoosier on the stage, guys. If you have he's the guy I go to about anything Iranian, anything to do with this conflict, because he's Iranian and he keeps it real. So if you guys have any questions for Hoosier, by all means, please feel free to ask him. Let me welcome Max to the stage. Good morning, Max.
Yeah, morning, guys. And my first time in here, I'm basically connecting from Iran.
Yeah, cash in your pink ticket, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just got 3 points to make here. One, a lot of people in Iran actually appreciate the fact that Bibi Netanyahu, bombed all those nuclear facilities, and on top of that, all those military facilities. Some of the buildings that they actually targeted were, basically forces that actually, faced the people in the street back in 21 and 22, and they actually killed a lot of people. So, a lot of people actually are happy about that. I know some people are not. That's one thing. Two, a lot of people now feel betrayed by the sudden, ceasefire, and they think that Trump kind of betrayed them. But that's my view as well. And three, my last point is that the regime in Iran is a threat to everyone, to every single country in the world. It's a threat to Qatar, it's a threat to Bahrain, it's a threat to Saudi Arabia, it's a threat to Israel. but it's also a threat to Europe, and in the long term to the United States, because the regime in Iran has shown times and times again that they will not stop attacking U.S. interests, or mainland Israel if they have to. Actually, the 12-day war showed that while most of the Israeli targets were military buildings and atomic sites, the Iranian regime targets were civilian buildings within Israel. So in the long run, this regime must go, whether by the invasion from foreign powers or from within. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Max. Hold on a second. Doug, I got you. Doug, I got you, bro. Let me just say something real quick. I pinned a new article to the top. This might trigger some of you people, but Donald Trump said this morning, Trump says he doesn't want a regime change in Iran. It will be utter chaos. Go ahead, Doug.
So Max, I only have this to say to you as a pushback to what you say about Iran being a threat to the region. What do you have to say about Iran's allies, which are Russia, China, North Korea, Zimbabwe, Cuba, several other nations which are allies because they have their own central bank, right? And their business in the world is way different than Israel's relationship to China, Russia, Cuba. Like, I always look at these things globally. What is your view about you saying regime change and then having Iran having these allies that all have their own central banks?
Was it addressed to me?
I guess it was
addressed
to me.
Yeah, that was for Max.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so Todd, that's my understanding. First of all, Iran has no allies whatsoever. The only ally that Iran truly had was the regime in Syria, and that was toppled, months ago. The other allies of Iran are not actual countries. They are, militias like Hezbollah and Hamas and all those, basically all those, regional players, and they are not countries. They are just militias. And in terms of China and Russia, they obviously showed again, times and times again, that they are not going to stand for Iran for obvious reasons, because the amount of the amount of trade that Russia does with Israel is times over their trade with Iran. Actually, Putin said, I guess 2 or 3 days ago, that there are 2 million Russians living in Israel, and Israel is actually like a Russian country or something. So basically, they are not good. If they have to choose sides, I know that they don't, but if they have to choose sides, Russia and China, they will definitely choose Israel's side and not Iran. And I don't know about Cuba. I live in Iran, and the Cuba is almost never on our TV. Almost never. Zimbabwe, I've never heard about that country. I know that country exists, but we never hear from them in our TV in any sorts of relationship. So let me tell you something. The only allies remaining for Iran are actually the Houthis in Yemen, and that's it. No one's gonna side with Iran because nobody sides with a loser, and that's all I have to say. Okay. So, but again, let me reiterate this. In the short term, Iran, if left alone to its own devices, is going to build. Okay, it's going to lick its wounds and start building the nuclear facilities and all the missile facilities.
Max, let me ask you a question, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but it just came to mind. You said you're calling in from Iran right now?
Yes.
So what is the prevailing, since you're there, and I know you don't speak for all Iranians, what's the prevailing feeling there as far as an uprising? Is that even a possibility in your...
So again, this is a very good question to ask. It's too soon to tell, okay? Because look, the people in Iran have started many uprisings time and time again, okay? We had an uprising in 2017, which was heavily crushed by the government. We had an uprising in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and the country and the regime killed 1,500 people in just 3 days. In just 3 days, they killed 1,500 people.
Yeah, but Max, we know the history, but you'd have to meet up. Let's have the conversation. But what I'm saying is, I don't, and it's just my opinion, I'm not a geopolitical expert, but I don't think there's been a better time for uprising than now with Israel and America's bombing and all this other stuff. Because I believe if they uprise, our countries will support the uprising. What do you think?
Exactly, JB. So that's what I was coming to. I totally agree with you. Okay, there is this feeling that this time people may actually prevail, but it's too soon to tell because people are also afraid. Okay, the government is very angry now, and they have started threatening people on their national TV. Okay, so any kind of uprising, they have actually started killing people already. They're hanging people by the minute as you speak because they hang a lot of people basically on the pretense that they were Israeli spies, and everyone, well, we can't say for sure anyway, but everyone agrees, or the general consensus in Iran is that they were not Israeli spies, and the government hanged them just to make an example of them. But it's too soon to tell. In a week, we will see if the people are ever want to do that. I'm one of those people, and as I said, I'm also afraid because going to the streets and starting an uprising, especially now, means being killed or being imprisoned for long term.
Thank you, Max. Hold on a second.
Ask Max a question. Just a follow-up.
Yeah. Everybody can go in a second. Just give me a second. Yo, Josh, let me tell you something, bro. I let you spew your bullshit. I don't really give a fuck because you're irrelevant to me. But this dude's actually there right now. He's giving us his lived experience. So when you say he's full of shit, actually, I think you're full of shit, Josh. That's all I really wanted to say to you. CO and then Vels. Go ahead, CO.
Hey, Max. I'm just curious, and I do very well appreciate your perspective. A lot of us disagree on a lot of things on this stage, man. But getting an inside perspective about this complex issue, I think, is very valuable. My question to you, man, is what risk are you taking by coming on Clubhouse and to some extent speaking out against the regime that's in power now? Or is that a risk for you? What would happen if somebody heard you talking in Iran in this climate?
Yeah, so CO, again, thank you. As you can probably see on my profile, it's not my real name. I don't have my real picture. Many Iranians who come to Clubhouse actually don't use their own real names or real pictures because that's a threat. And again, this is my first time on this stage. This is my first time on actually like an English-speaking stage. I mostly, spend my time in stages with folks who speak Farsi. But that being said, many people, even connecting from abroad, don't use their own pictures and their real names because they're afraid that the hands of regime working in Britain, in the US, in Germany will actually come after them. This is a real threat. The regime in Iran has shown that it can kill people. So let me give you one clear example. Okay, we have a TV operating in England called Iran International, and 2 days ago, the government in Iran held hostage the presenter's she's a lady, the presenter's father, mother, and her little brother hostage. So and they had to call the presenter in Iran International. They had to call their daughter and say, stop being part of what Iranian regime calls propaganda in Iran International. So that's how the regime operates. If they know you and they can't, they cannot reach you, then they reach for your family in Iran and they start harassing them.
So
and go read it in
So Max, if they found you right now, heard you talking about the app, heard you talking down about this regime, if they found you, thank you for saying that you're using an alias, makes sense. What would happen to you right now if they found you? Talking about what you're talking about now, what would happen?
Well, I mean, best case scenario, I would be put to prison for speaking against the regime. That's best case scenario, okay?
Damn. Thank you, Max. So before we go to Vel, hold on, Sergio. Before we go to Vels, Hoosier, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and I had to remove my last name. I'm in Toronto, and I'm not safe because the tentacles of this regime, the outreach is everywhere. They could reach out to every city and stuff, and they're very good at killing their own. I can't say their own because they're not Iranians. They're just, the biggest occupied land is Iran. Biggest occupied land. The government is not our government. They're not our people. The first day they took over through their revolution, they said Iran is the spoiler war for Islam. They didn't say. And their IRGC has no I for Iran in it, has I for Islamic in it. They don't believe in the country, they don't believe in anything, and the spoiler war, they do everything to keep it because that's how they finance the other wars that they had in mind. So if you're Iranians, if you're on this app or anywhere, Toronto, Sydney, anywhere, they come for you. So just don't use your real name, don't use your real pictures, because it's not safe. And I feel really sad and concerned about the Iranians right now, like Max, because he cannot be on this app without the VPN. I've heard that most of the VPN sold in Iran, they are wrapped in IRGC's VPN and they track every single conversation because it is a fake VPN just to grab people's data. This morning they announced that they've got 92,000 names and addresses and IP addresses. And they literally said, we're coming after this now. There's a e-stock and we have the chance to respond. We're gonna come after you. They put that out as well in their state media. They have zero tolerance now. And there's not gonna be a court system. You're gonna be inside the road and that would be the last time that you would.
Thank you, Hoosier. Sounds horrible. Rohan, are you there? Rohan. Okay.
Are those threats
Pikachu, hold on a second, because Vel's been patiently waiting to jump in. So I'm not
bad. There were threats made directly to Iranians.
All right, we'll get that question in a second. Vels, good morning.
So, morning, yeah. So I wanted to ask Max a follow-up question. What do you think about the? I think it's called Artesh, right? The regular military in Iran. Do you think that the level of loyalty of like in the chain of command extends all the way to the officers, and they have like complete control of both RGC and the Artesh, or do you think that there might be like a change of heart in the military, and they might take the sides of the people, because obviously the people will not be able to go barehanded against the tanks and the automatic weapons, but the army could. So do you think that is a chance that is on the table?
May I?
Yeah. That was a question. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Vels, and good day wherever you are. So I guess this is now basically urban legend that Artesh, which is like the as you said the first and the first military was ever going to be siding with the people of Iran. No, it's the same thing as IRGC. They are the same. Even now the regime is afraid of Artesh for whatever reason, and they don't fund them well, but in terms of loyalty, Artesh and IRGC are exactly the same. And this is my personal opinion, though, obviously. But there were many instances where Artesh could come and help the people, and they never sided with the people. Actually, the top leaders of Artesh, they have always sided in every single crisis, every single uprising. They have sided with the government. And I totally agree with Hushard when he says that Iran is the biggest occupied land. This regime was never our regime. So I'll be leaving with one question, JB, and the rest of the people. Imagine this scenario, please. Imagine this scenario. Imagine Donald Trump or Joe Biden, coming to the podium and telling you, American people, that Ukraine is so important to us that we are happy to lose California, but get hold of Ukraine. And this is exactly what the Iranian regime told people. They said Syria is so important to us that we are happy to get to basically to have Syria, but leave Khuzestan, which is one of our provinces, to the enemy. These things. I mean, obviously, we live in a very, very dreadful government and country for now. And just ever think of that and see what you would think if one of your presidents would be happy to basically let go of one of the states just to get hold of Ukraine, for example, or Sweden or Germany.
Max, respectfully, I wouldn't give a shit if President Trump gave me Jersey, because I could care less about Jersey. But that's just a personal thing. Well, let me go to Pikachu.
Yo, thank you, JB. The gentleman before, the one that just spoke, I think it was Hoosh. Was it Hoosh who was talking about?
Yes, Hoosh.
Yeah, Hoosh. Thanks. What is it that they've done internally in Iran to threaten the populace, the public? I mean, people must be really worried about any form of regime change. So what actions have they actually taken? I mean, is this Iranians directly in Iran, or is this worldwide?
You mean the people that they're planning to uprise, or the people that are fermenting it? Which one?
No, the people that they've threatened. You said they've got 92,000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are the people that they're very active on social media, and in Iran you cannot connect to any social media unless you buy VPNs. The Western VPNs or external VPNs don't work well because they know how to use the Chinese technology to deep packet inspect this and shut them down. And there are flavors of VPNs that they're readily give access to this app and many apps, and these are local VPNs branded as internationally made available VPNs, and these VPNs, they just log everything. So you show up, you think, okay, I'm safe, I'm using a VPN, but you're directly connected to IRC Center, and from there, they take whatever they want and they patch you through. And I believe that they record everything, because if you don't come with your face, your picture, your photo, your real name, your voice is your signature. And they have the technology, thanks to China, to pinpoint the voice across all the rooms and figure out who is what, and then find your social security that way, your IP address that way. And most Iranians, they're on mobile devices to their names, which means 92,000 are exposed now. It's just a matter.
Thank you. I need to jump in. Listen, I don't care if you're writing in Farsi or if you're writing in Ebonics. If the chat is English only, because if I can't read it, I don't know if it's rhetoric to hurt somebody. So I want to specifically call out, where is this person? Isa Guatemalan. Can you come to the stage, please? I have some smoke for you. Thank you, Isa. Let me say good morning to Sarah, the troublemaker. Guys, so I'm gonna do a quick room reset. Healthy debate. Trump says Israel and Iran don't know what the fuck they're doing. Seems to be some division there, folks. How's that going to impact the outcome here? Is there going to be a regime change? Issa, please come up. Stephanie, good morning. BP, I see you. BP, I know the stage is not smart enough for you, so you're going to stay down there. Guys, you have a pink ticket, please cash it in. We're having a great conversation. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Guys, we're going to go popcorn style unless Issa comes out. Oh, Issa's here. Issa, how you doing?
Hello. Yeah. Hello.
Hello. I have no smoke for you. I just wanted you to come up and moderate. That's all.
I heard my name.
Yeah, I said I had smoke for you, but I was lying. I just wanted you to come up and moderate.
Oh, thank you, JB.
You're welcome. So what do you think about what's going on? There was peace, now there's no peace. What's going to happen there, Issa, in your...
I think there will be peace, but I think also Israel needs to be allowed to finish what they started. I mean, like, they're the ones that are facing the most risk with just leaving this halfway. you know. So I think, I don't know, like at some point this will have to end. But
Let me ask you a question. No. When you say something like that, I just need some clarity, because I thought the whole job was to eliminate the nuclear facilities. That's already been done. So when you say finished, what does the finished product look like?
Well, that's what has been done on the U.S. side, right? I mean, I think that the whole nuclear stuff was part of the objective, but also, I mean, having the IRGC leading or allowing the IRGC to reassemble again, it's going to represent a huge risk for Israel and for the Middle East, because it's the IRGC that's driving all of this, right? I mean, like the nuclear capabilities wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been because of the ambitions of the IRGC. And the IRGC at the same time is funding all of the other terrorist cells that are all the time like causing mess everywhere around the world, not only for Israel but everywhere, right? I mean, like look at what happened in Argentina. It was Hezbollah doing it back in the 90s, I think it was, or the 80s, I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, like, these guys are bad guys, and if you just let them reassemble, this is not going to be over here. I don't think that they're just going to bend over just because.
Thank you, Issa. So guys, I gotta get going. We got a pretty big room here. Rohan, CEO, Hoosier, Paola, and Issa want to keep it open. Let me know now. Hoosier, you want to hang out and keep the conversation going?
Can I say something?
Can I finish talking and then you can say whatever you like? Thank you. Hoosier, you there?
I'm here, sir.
CEO, do you and Hoosier and Paola and Issa want to keep the conversation going?
Hey, JB, looks like you got a big room and some good conversation, man. I'll hang tight for a few minutes, but...
Well, listen, if I monitored you, that means I trust you. So, guys, have a good conversation. Be nice to each other. It's free to be nice. And I'll be back later if the room's still open.
Roger, man.
Have a good one.
Okay, Sergio, was that you that had something to say?
Yeah, I was got something to say. In this perspective, I think that there is America a little bit afraid to help another country after Libya, because there was a civil war after they helped these countries. Yes, but I think that there is a big distinguish between those cases and the current case with Iranian people, because there is a homogenical society, and almost all people are Persian. The rest groups are Azerbaijanians, and they are also Shia. There is no contradictions, and less than 10% are Kurdish. Yeah, I don't think that there will be a civil war or like this. But if there will be a good case after this, after Ayatollah will be eliminated, there will be big hope for the democracy in this region, in this country, and a big hope for these people that they can hold the power, and make a peace on their land and make an agreement with Israel. And this will be a strategic win for all the democracies around the world, and no threats in different countries like the sleepy gangs in America, like today they say that we will do something, on the streets of America and so on and so on. Yeah, and there will be a strategic lose for the dictatorships. That's all I want to say.
Say that word again. You said that would be a strategic what for the dictatorship?
Strategic win, yeah, for democracies, and strategic lose for dictatorships. Yeah, if there will be peace in Iran. If there will be a democracy tomorrow, if Pahlavi or somebody else will take the power instead of Ayatollah, yeah, and Ayatollah will be eliminated.
Did anyone want to respond to this?
I agree with him. The win side is going to be the biggest economic zone. Is going to be between Iran and Israel. Iran has the resources and the mass. Israel has the technologies a little bit ahead. And once these two unite, I think economically it's going to be great for the region. And peace, of course. When you have something to lose, you're not going to engage in any wars. Iran right now has nothing to lose. That's why they pick at every.
And Rohan, you're still there. Rohan, you're still there, correct?
It is pretty distant. In a small way.
Say it again?
How we doing? In a small way, yes.
Okay, cool.
Subsector.
No. I just want to make sure, just in case I tapped out, that I know you and Paola, hang tight and make it happen. But I did have a question, though. Someone mentioned earlier about Russia and China, and they mentioned that Iran technically doesn't have any partners, and I think that person alluded to Cuba and some of the other regional players, right? China did send, from what I understood, some military support. And support over to Iran. And I hadn't heard anybody speak on that issue as of yet. Would somebody maybe speak? Like, basically, the question would be, what is China really going to do?
Look, I don't have enough knowledge, honestly, to be able to speak about the subject, to be frank. What I do know is that China, before this whole thing erupted, for some reason decided to be able to stockpile Iranian fuel. And I have it on, I feel, a pretty reliable source that their fuel supplies are actually the biggest that they have been. They've maximized on the storage of fuel, which was gained from Iran. So this was beforehand, so it's actually quite strange. Also have learned that it was either Russia or China had actually been helping Iran and supporting Iran, but not verbosely, not
because they were so fucking inept at their job.
We were on the it was on the news. It was a big deal.
So sorry.
Thank you.
It's crazy that your mom had to find a criminal and the cops couldn't do it. Because it's so low IQ and something like this.
He'll turn himself in.
Around and find
No, my mom found the guy who hit my dad. No.